this was going to be the Dolphins' year. And then Tua got hurt. Yep, there were other key injuries too, and the season soon became a freight train going downhill fast. But here we are in Week 18, and the Dolphins are still alive, with two caveats. They'll need to beat the Jets today, and the Broncos must lose to the
caveats.
Do you have that on your bingo card? Well, Mike McDaniel did.
Some of the best things in team sports occur when you have to galvanize together, and there's a lot of people telling you your season's over, or this, that, or the other.
Will the Dolphins be scoreboard watching? Well, they're going to try not to, says Alec Ingold.
We're going to let that Chiefs-Broncos game do what it does, but I'm sure there's going to be whispers and murmurs in the stadium. So the more awareness that we got, with all that will be good. But yeah, we'll stay locked in.
Time to look at the ins and the outs of this one. It's Game Day, Uncensored. The pregame show for real Miami football fans with Tobin and Solana, Omar and Beasley. On AM 560 Sports, WQAM, FM 99.9 HD2, and always live on the free Odyssey app.
Brought to you by South Florida Lexus dealers and the Lexus RX, the luxury SUV for those who never want to lose their edge. Experience amazing at your Lexus dealer. Also sponsored by the free Odyssey app. Download it today to listen to us live or on demand. And by Edmore Sawgrass Buick GMC. No matter where you lease your vehicle, bring it to Edmore Sawgrass Buick GMC, your lease return headquarters. It's all a part of being backed by Morse. Click EdmoreSawgrassBuickGMC.com, a proud partner of the Miami Dolphins.
Good afternoon, everybody. It is Game Day, Uncensored here on 560 WQAM. Brendan Tobin here with you alongside my co-host Alejandro Solana. Dan Day producing for us here today. You'll hear him later on tonight with a little Game Day Uncensored post-game edition, maybe postseason edition. Well, could be postseason edition, could be post-mortem decision. I don't know. We will see what kind of show Dan Day has got coming. Could be a eulogy, could be a preview. We don't know. We don't know, but we'll see. We got things have to fall. We got the Wentz wagon that we need to go for. We need Snoop Huntley to go into the nasty New Jersey weather while a blizzard's about to bear down on the country, Solana. It's all happening for us here today. And also Tua may have another hip injury that could get a lot worse. We'll see. We don't know. He says he's going to play. Now everybody's saying probably not. It's all it's just a cloud of muck, it seems like, over this season finale when the playoffs are still a potential.
The Dolphins should be thanking Jimmy Butler and the Miami Heat, because everybody's focused on Jimmy Butler saying, bleep you to the Heat, I want to trade. And the Tua thing might be the weirdest effing thing that's happened this season around the Dolphins. And that's saying a lot, because he's out there like, I could have played last week. I could have gone. And he's saying he's not medically cleared. A lot of weird stuff. But Tobin, never thought I would do this in my entire life. And I don't know if you want to join me. If you don't, I understand this video could be taken out of context in the future. But
I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to do that. I already presented it to no, I'm not going to do that. One, it's FSU's thing too, and two, it's a little dated.
The Chiefs do it. Come on, the Chiefs do it. They do the tomahawk chant.
I presented to my two chief sources this week. I said, hey, wouldn't you guys want to play just for this scenario? Put the you could put the Broncos in. That's fine, but I mean the Broncos are not terrible. Wouldn't you want just like all possibility of Joe Burrow going to Buffalo and upsetting Buffalo? Like, wouldn't you want that to be just completely destroyed? And if a team was to upset Buffalo, wouldn't you want that to be the Dolphins? I know it's fantasy land, but wouldn't you want that to happen? And 2 weeks off is a lot of time. They just said, we don't care, dude. We've won 2 Super Bowls in a row. I said, that's a fair response. Yeah. That's a fair response. But I tried getting the message to KC and saying, don't you guys kind of want? They almost didn't get there yesterday, by the way. The weather was so bad. It looks like the White Walkers are taking over Denver right now. It looks terrible.
Winter is here.
Yeah, which honestly could make for weird stuff. It could make for weird stuff to happen. We'll see.
For sure. But you're right. They were stranded on a tarmac for like 10 hours yesterday. For a second, I'm like, oh no, does the NFL, are they going to make a decision here like, game is canceled, teams get a bye, and the Dolphins get screwed? Because like, that'd be the easy thing to do, and whatever, right? Like the Chiefs are in, the Broncos are in. It's the way it's supposed to be. But the Bengals winning yesterday, it makes things a little dicey. It really does.
Yeah, it's one of those things where I don't know what to make of Denver because, they've had a couple of chances already to put a bow on this, and they haven't been able to, especially with the overtime game against Cincinnati. So look, it's not likely. Right now, we got to, I guess, figure out the task at hand, and that is, can the Dolphins go into MetLife Stadium with Snoop Huntley, who looked really good last week? I mean, he looked really, really impressive. Now, it was against an awful Browns team. I mean, that other than Myles Garrett, that team really, and they should just pack it up. They are so bad. That team is so bad. So the Dolphins did what they had to do. They took care of business because everybody outside of Myles Garrett on that team is a joke.
Bro, the Ravens yesterday were 21-point favorites over the Cleveland Browns in an NFL football game.
Yep.
21 point. Did you see who started for the Browns yesterday, by the way, against Baltimore?
At quarterback?
Yeah.
No, I didn't. Who did?
You wouldn't be able to guess. Like, I could give you 5 hours. You wouldn't be able to guess.
I was in the midst of watching the Heat get just dump trucked by the Utah Jazz.
I don't want to talk about it. Tobin, I don't want to talk about it.
My son's first basketball game.
I brought it up on the postgame show to Tommy Tog yesterday. I was like, man, I feel bad for Tobin. Like, what a tough one. Because, like, son's first basketball game, you're leading up to it. He knows that you have tickets all week. And this week, of all games that you're going to, Jimmy Butler says F you to the franchise. And you go there and you're down 43 to Bryce Sensabaugh and the Utah Jazz. Like,
yeah, I thought it was a layup though, even without Jimmy Butler. Like, this would have been one of those games I would have thought Jimmy Butler just would have skipped anyway. And I was like, it's the Jazz. They got to win this game.
Yeah.
But no, I did not. So who started for the Browns yesterday at quarterback?
Bailey Zappi.
He did?
Yeah.
I didn't even know he was still
Bailey
a thing.
Zappi.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the Ravens killed them. The Ravens
They did. They covered 21. It's just ridiculous. Tobin, I know we'll talk about it next segment, but just really quick. Snoop Huntley?
Pretty good.
Fun.
He is fun. He is fun. He was fun. And just like the zinging around, like that one play where he got just completely ring around the rosied and then threw a pass to Raheem Mostert. I'm like, this guy's fun.
Yeah.
Could have been a disaster. There were definitely times where people said, oh, he took too many sacks. I'm like, dude, did you see what Myles Garrett did to Patrick Paul? Did you see it? What do you mean took too many sacks? I'm like, I can't believe how strong that individual is. It's scary. He threw a 6'7", 300+ pound man like it was nothing.
Crazy, man.
He is the scariest human being. I don't care. Give me anybody else. Nobody is scarier than Myles Garrett, and it hasn't been. Maybe Aaron Donald over the last 10 years. Maybe.
I don't think like Aaron Donald was dominant. This is not an indictment on him, but nobody's scarier than Myles Garrett. Like, Aaron Donald was imposing and he was a monster, but he wasn't scary. Like, bro, Myles Garrett is just like a tank, man.
He looks like a superhuman. Like, he doesn't look human. It's ridiculous what he's able to do. So, yeah, man, we got a lot to dive into. Obviously, the Tua thing remains a big thing. The update this morning, and we'll get more into Tua's comments about it, but, Tua had these things where he's like, yeah, I'm definitely, first of all, he said no ifs, ands, or buts that I would be ready for the playoffs should that happen. And then NFL Network's reporting this morning, nope, further tear is definitely a risk. And not only that, but he's apparently been in a lot of pain. This very much feels like a cover-up to make Tua look like he is closer than he is. To me, I feel like this guy's not playing football. I feel like this has all been, kind of protect him from the labels that are already out there. that are like, hey, not durable, made of glass. Let's protect our guy. He's doing everything that he can. I don't think there's really anything to do. Like it seems to me this is silly. If he has a hip injury that can be further risk of tear, what's going to change this week to next week? It seems like the guy just needs and doesn't need and isn't going to get surgery. Seems like all that he needs is a lot of rest. And I'm not here that I'm going to be very surprised just based on what I heard today from Ian Rappaport that the guy would be even able to play on a hypothetical playoff game should that playoff game happen.
Yeah, and Tua's like, oh, no ifs, ands, or buts. I'm playing next week. But, I mean, there's a lot of buts and ifs with that equation. There just is. Tobin, to me, this is the Miami Dolphins understanding this situation, which is, hey, playoffs aren't likely. They're not impossible, but they're not likely. And we should be able to handle our business, what we can take care of with Tyler Huntley. They did it against the Browns, and they should be able to do it against the New York Jets. There is no reason to put our quarterback, the guy that we just committed over $5 billion to this offseason, put him at risk to a major injury that he's already sustained in the same part of his body. To me, this is the Dolphins, and I know medically is what they're saying, right? Like he's not medically cleared, and I believe that to a certain extent. I'm not saying that's folly, but to me, this is more of the Dolphins as an organization making a business decision, understanding the circumstances. And if the Dolphins today were simply, and they're not, but if it was simply win and you're in, I think we'd be having a different type of conversation. I really
You think
do.
like he would be pushing through it or just like no shot?
He wants to push through it. Like I just think the Dolphins understand the situation. Like, hey, the Chiefs are probably not going to win this game today. I hate to break it to everybody. And look, I'm hopeful. I woke up today. I tweeted like, "Who's ready for a miracle? Why not?" Right? You mentioned the weather. Like crazier things have happened, but it's not likely, Tobin. This isn't a probable outcome that the Broncos at home, who are like 30-point favorites against Carson Wentz and all the backups of Kansas City, are going to lose a game. The Broncos have been the better team this year when you compare them to the Dolphins. They just have. They've been more consistent. They've been a better defense. They're just a better football team. At home, all they have to do is win. It's not likely. So why, if you're the Dolphins, understanding that, put Tua at risk? And if you can't beat Aaron Rodgers and the New York Jets, who have all given up on this guy, I mean, they hate Aaron Rodgers in New York. If you can't beat Aaron Rodgers and the Jets in New York today with your backup quarterback, and I'm sorry, man, you don't deserve to be in the playoffs. You just don't.
Yeah, I mean, but the thing that's crazy about it is they played the Jets not too long ago, and it took two incredible Tua drives and Jason Sanders being nails for them to even win those games. You know, so, and Jonnu Smith going wild in overtime. So it took, and look, it was probably Aaron Rodgers' best game of the season. But you know, it's almost one of these things where of course you want to make the playoffs, and of course you want to finish with a winning record, like no questions. But it's almost like the backdrop of doing it is also a little depressing because you're like, man, this season could not have gone worse for Tua from a health perspective. It really, really couldn't have. Not only did he have a concussion, but now he's got a hip injury on the same hip that he had in college. Tell me it's not the same injury, whatever. Like, just you want to talk about like just absolute, already a guy who said that he's not been the same mobile quarterback since college because of that hip. Now he's got an injury there again that he's saying is more about as painful as his broken ankle that he had. Great. Awesome. Yeah. We'll take a break.
Before we do, Tobin, quickly, I know Tua, just not that he stated this publicly, even though he's kind of hinting at it now. I don't think Tua felt like he needed to miss 4 games when he had that concussion week 2 against Buffalo. And we had discussed this, right? Like, I'm not saying he was ready to play the following game in Seattle, but the Dolphins placed him on IR, and it was the right decision. I'm not criticizing the Dolphins for doing this. I think it was the right decision. But to me, Tua felt like he was good. He went to Disney on Ice the day after it happened, and he came back and he looked good. Like, to me, Tua felt like he could have played probably 2 weeks after that injury. And Tobin, I feel like we're going to hear more about that maybe in the offseason, because the Dolphins are going to miss the playoffs this year if things don't go their way, if things don't fall their way today based on one game. And he had to miss 6 games this season, some of which he felt like he didn't have to miss. To me, like this might get aired out a little bit. We might hear about it more in the offseason if the dominoes fall that way, just based on the fact that I think Tua's tired of being protected. I really do. I think he's tired of it.
Well, I think people are also tired of,
Me too.
Tua injury roulette that happens all the time as well.
Yeah.
But we have more to get into. Obviously, lots to dive into. Adam Beasley will join the program. Omar Kelly will join the program. We will take a break. We'll keep you up to date with all the 1 o'clock slates, although it's not a very good 1 o'clock slate. I got to be honest with you. I mean, it's the one that's that we're all going to be probably watching is I guess the Falcons in the 1 o'clock slate. Other than that, pretty bleh, until we get to 4 o'clock. We'll take a break. More to come here on Game Day Uncensored after this.
WQAM broadcasting live from the
AM 560 Sports, WQAM. FM 99.9 HD2, and always live on the free Odyssey app.
Brought to you by South Florida Lexus dealers and the Lexus RX, the luxury SUV for those who never want to lose their edge. Experience amazing at your Lexus dealer. Also sponsored by the free Odyssey app. Download it today to listen to us live or on demand. And by Edmore Sawgrass Cadillac. When it comes to returning your lease, Ed Morse has your back. Ed Morse Sawgrass Cadillac is your lease return headquarters. Click edmoresawgrasscadillac.com. Ed Morse is a proud partner of the Miami Dolphins.
And welcome back, everybody. It is Game Day Uncensored here, 560 WQAM, which is also brought to you in part by your South Florida Chevy dealers. You're looking for more power, capability, and technology with Chevy trucks. You're ready for anything Chevrolet together. Let's drive. Tobin and Solana here with you for the next few hours as we get you ready for Dolphins and Jets, the regular season finale, Week 18. Dolphins with their playoff hopes alive. They need to win, and they need the Chiefs to beat the Broncos. Dan Day, producer for us today. Dan, what do you have a post game today? What is when can people hear you after the game today?
Most likely, whenever the game ends, it should be around 7:30. We're going to take it to 10 o'clock. So it's going to be hopefully another celebratory post game, and looking forward to great things to come for the Dolphins in one way, shape, or form.
I hope so, man. He's got his Tyreek Hill jersey on today. We'll see if the cheetah, who was out sick on practice on Friday, apparently he was at the mall. But he's going to try and chase it down. Cheetah had a good performance. It kind of just felt like, didn't feel Solana last week, recapping this Browns game a little bit, but it felt like crazy concept, but it felt like the cheetah just get him the ball. First play of every drive for Snoop, just like get him comfortable, throw over the middle of the cheetah. It was like, oh, this almost feels like a bit of a lost art for the Dolphins of why don't we get the ball in his hands?
Crazy that, for 4 weeks we sat through misery of the Dolphins not being able to move the football. Tobin, it's crazy what getting the ball to Tyreek Hill does, right? It, makes you look competent. Yeah, I think that's what we all wanted to see. He had 9 receptions, but he had 12 targets, 11 targets. It's what you wanted to see for a long time, even with Tua in there at times, right? Where this offense just it was just a grind, man, just a grind. And I think part of what our hope was going into last week was, okay, Snoop now further along in his understanding and his process of learning the offense. It's going to have to look better today, right? Isn't it going to have to look better? And it did. And I think the main part of that, other than him just being fun, I really want to drive that point home. It was a delight to watch him just go out there and figure it out. But he got the ball to Tyreek Hill, man. He got it to his best playmaker. And to me, that made all the difference.
Yeah, Snoop Huntley was definitely a ball to watch. 225 yards passing with a touchdown to Jonnu Smith. But he also rushed for 52 yards. He had an 18-yard touchdown run in that performance. He really was. It was an enjoyable performance by the Dolphins backup QB. So credit to him, because one of the big things that we had this issue with this year is the Dolphins did not have a backup quarterback basically all season that they could rely upon. And, Snoop, who was, got some credentials, and Mike McDaniel had said, hey, this guy backed up Lamar Jackson. He looked like a guy just way more competent to be the backup quarterback for this team, to have a little bit of a dynamic. Now, look, to be fair, he was going up against basically a dud of a gun on the other side. So he had some time to go through some growing pains and whatnot. But overall, it was a really, really good performance from him.
Hey, according to PFF, Huntley's performance against the Browns, highest graded performance by any quarterback for the Miami Dolphins this season.
Oh, yeah, but I think PFF hates Tua. I think that's like a known thing that they skew their metrics anti-Tua. But look, he was great. I don't want to take anything away from what Snoop did. He was really, really impressive. Calais Campbell was a monster in this game. First he looked just like, if it wasn't for Myles Garrett, no question the scariest person on the field would have been Calais Campbell. I mean, what he was doing to DTR in that game was absolutely devastating. And he just had that look about him. Like, I don't know how many of these games I got left. I don't know how many games are left in the tank for me. and he laid it all out there. He was absolutely incredible. Great performance from Calais.
The entire defense, really, man. Like Jalen Ramsey coming up with that big pass deflection on 4th down. It was like the only chance the Browns really had to make it a game. I think it was 13-3 at that point, Tobin. The only chance the Browns really had at making it a game. They get down to the red zone. It was like just a whack drive that they put together, but they're there. Now it's 4th down. They're trying to get the ball to their best receiver in Jerry Jeudy and Jalen Ramsey, who, none of the Dolphins were selected to the Pro Bowl this year. I know we're gonna talk about that, but Jalen Ramsey hasn't really had the opportunity, I would say, to like be flashy this year and make Jalen Ramsey style plays, pick sixes, like game-changing, momentum-swinging plays. Like he's known for that outside of just being a lockdown corner, which he's done good. Like he's played well this season. For him to have that moment, I thought was really cool too, because it was almost like oh yeah, we have Jalen Ramsey out on the defense. There's a reason why we've been top 5 all season.
Yeah, I mean, listen, the defense, I can't help but be impressed by them this year. And I know that the ultimate pessimist can come back and say, yeah, but the games that have been most important, they've gotten, that they, especially Thanksgiving, Green Bay will stand out to everybody. But Houston, that was kind of on the offense. They didn't really have a chance against the Buffalo Bills week 2. And they did this with, losing Wilkins, not really having a veteran pass rusher this year worth anything. Agba has had his moments, but you lose Jalen Phillips. You never got back Bradley Chubb. You lose Andrew Van Ginkel. You lose Christian Wilkins. You replace your linebackers. You replace your starting linebackers in the middle of the season. Terrell Dodson's done a really great job. He had a great game last week.
Except for taking his helmet off.
Except for taking his helmet off. And now there's actually reports, and this kind of, I'm happy for him, but this kind of sucks. But it seems like Anthony Weaver is making a lot of waves with the Chicago Bears for their job. And that means that Mike McDaniel's going to have to find probably another defensive coordinator.
With perhaps a whole new defense next year as well. Like think about outside of Zach Sealer and Chop Robinson and obviously JP who's coming back next year. Like can you point to one other person, Jalen Ramsey who just got the bag? Can you point to like 2 other guys on that defense that for sure are going to be back next season for sure?
Storm Duck.
Storm Duck, right. And who's my boy?
Ethan Bonner.
Yeah, he'll be back next year for sure. They're going to have him on the practice
lighting it up
squad
in camp.
Oh, man. I mean, this guy is going to have another outstanding. I can't wait. We're going to be doing this again next year, talking about Ethan Bonner. But seriously, Tobin, when we're putting a bow on this season, whenever it happens, right? Whether it happens after today, whether it happens next week, whether it happens in the Super Bowl, man, like anything could happen. When we're putting a bow on it, Anthony Weaver, to me, has to be the most celebrated member of the Miami Dolphins this season. Truly. What he did with this defense, I mean, he has a guy who's a secret double agent out there for Buffalo, starting at safety for him.
True.
Half his, you just went through it, half his defense has been out of the lineup. And he has a 38-year-old starting on interior defensive line. Like what he did with this defense really needs to be applauded because the numbers are staggering. Top 3 right now entering week 18. Like that's stupid. The Dolphins haven't had a defense that good in 15 years, I think. Like it's stupid considering the circumstances.
Yeah, and I think the thing that we're going to look back on over this era with Mike McDaniel, especially the last couple of years, is that it always feels like his defense has given him a chance.
Enough.
For the most part, and the offense has let it down. The one thing that I would take an immediate look at if Anthony Weaver does stay next year, put him in charge of coaches' challenges because my God, is Mike McDaniel remains the worst coach challenger in the history of challenges. I'm telling you right now, Solana, there are even times where I agree with him and I'm watching these games. And as soon as he throws that stupid red handkerchief, I'm like, I must be wrong because if he thinks that they're going to challenge it, that means that there's no way it's going to go the Dolphins' way.
I thought he was trolling when he threw the second one the other day because it came like 4 minutes after. It was 2 challenges in a span of, 4 minutes of game action? I thought he was trolling. Like he was just effing around. He's like, yeah, we're going to win this game. Let me
I
mess
don't
with
understand it. I don't understand it.
Does he not like timeouts? First of all, he has now lost 14 of 18 challenges as a head coach.
That's crazy.
14 of 18.
How's that possible? How is that possible?
In the age of modern technology, where you have a team upstairs whose sole purpose is to look at the play, phone in, and go, yeah, we're going to win that challenge. How?
He must not be listening to them. He must be a gut guy. Like, I'm telling you. Like, Dan, do you ever feel like his challenges are going to work? I never feel like they're going to work.
No, not feeling like they're ever going to work is pretty accurate because they never work. And there's not even a lot of hope to it. Like, the referees don't go there for, deliberate for 5 or 6 minutes. It's like a minute later. No, failed challenge.
Yeah. And like, they always go to Sterator and he's always like, I don't know what he's seeing here, Trent. It's like, yeah, like, thanks, Gene. We know. It's crazy. He is so bad at it. I don't think he's listening to the booth, Solana. I think that he's going by gut. I think he plays this. I think he goes about this like he's playing a Madden game sometimes. He goes, I don't know. I got a view here, guys. I don't think you're seeing it. I don't think you're seeing it. I was here. Here.
You nailed it. He's a gut guy. Like, remember there was the rule before in the NFL, they couldn't show the replay until like there was no ability to challenge the play anymore. Like literally you couldn't see a replay of it. If you wanted to challenge it, you just had to go off your gut. Mike McDaniel is like, oh, I'm old school in that regard because they'll show the replay right away on the Jumbotrons now. Like they don't care because everybody's watching it. Like literally everybody in the stadium can rewatch that play within seconds. So whatever, what are you doing not showing the replay anymore? He won't even look up at the Jumbotron. He's like, nah, trust me on this one. I got it. Trust me.
Let's hear a little bit from your Miami Dolphins. Zach Sealer, who this week was voted team MVP by the local media. Congrats to Sealer it on up. He says they proved a lot, but they got to close out strong.
Last weekend was a great game. I think all three units played really well together, and to be able to run off of that into this game and hopefully take it to up to MetLife, and hopefully everything falls into play and we play next week. So I think it's super exciting to come from 2-6 to here. It's a testament to the team, the resilience of these guys, and just the attitude we have around here. So I'm excited for this weekend.
I think it's good that at least they have, the game going on at the same time. You can't really scoreboard watch, so they get to go out. It's going to be it's not going to be a great consolation prize to finish with a winning record and you don't make the playoffs, but at least you feel like they're going to get their best effort while this is going on.
Yeah, I hate that whole thing though. Like, oh, you end with a winning record. Who cares, man? And look, what Zach Sealer said.
Only because there's an extra game. Like you guys just made this up a couple of years ago.
Not only that, Tobin, but like, do we really look back on Flo on his last season where what they start 1-7 and then they ended up with a winning record?
Yeah,
they missed the playoffs. Okay, we use it now to say, 5 straight seasons with a winning record, but who cares? Even one.
How many years have we done the 17 games? Is it
4 years?
Is it
now?
4 years? So that like in the 4 years that they've done it, they've just been 9-8 in the 3. Like so, we kind of just got an extra week of football. Yeah. That's why they have the like. Why hasn't it happened in 20 years for the Dolphins? Well, we've added this extra game that's kind of put lipstick on a pig on really what's a 500 season.
They went 9-8 in 2021. That's Flo's final year, right? Do we really look back on that and say, "Oh, what a good season by the Dolphins"? They got to
I didn't think he was going to get fired after that year. I was like, "Oh, they rallied." I remember being on the air when we got the news of Flo getting fired. I was genuinely stunned by it.
Oh,
I know people have come in afterwards and they said, "No, he was a jerk." We all saw it coming. Like, sure you did, dude.
No. I don't think anybody. And even we were talking to Bees last week, right? And he's like, "Hey, I mean." Like weird things happen, so he's not ruling anything out because of the Brian Flores situation. But I think, Tobin, once we kind of found out more about that situation, it made sense, obviously. But in other words, I guess what I'm trying to say is 9-8 is fine. Like it good, great. You had a winning season. You were 2-6. You turned it around. Like those things are good. I applaud that. But in the grand scheme of things, does it matter if you're 9-8 or 8-9? If you either A, miss the playoffs or B, don't win a playoff game for the 24th straight year? Like, no. I'm just
really.
Like, it's a good little pat on the back, way to turn the season around. You dealt with adversity. You showed everybody that this team had fight in them. You didn't quit. You didn't give up on the season. It would have been easy. Like, all that stuff, fine. But I like miss me with if you're the Dolphins fan who's saying, "Oh, 5 straight winning seasons. Come on. That's some like miss me with that BS, bro. I don't want to hear anything about that. I'm tired of that."
I'm gonna start having. You're gonna start have to hit me with 10-win seasons, like to be like, oh, it was a 10-win season, pretty good. But like 9-8.
Tobin, I don't think asking for one playoff win is a lot. Like, think about where the
It's
bar
really
has fallen for this team, man.
They just keep ending up the last seed, and they're gonna end up in Buffalo. Like, dude, I don't. Like, here's the sickness of me. Like, I've already looked ahead to next week and being like, because there's gonna be like a winter blast across the country. Let's just say Tua's hip is fine, but it's gonna be 20 degrees the day beforehand. There's gonna be a snowstorm in Buffalo. And they're gonna roll in there in 20-degree weather. And what the holy hell do you think is gonna happen? Josh Allen is gonna go over them like a snowplow. Like that's exactly what's gonna happen. It's honorable, but it's almost like you're going into the gladiator arena with tigers that are about to maul you.
And you know who's gonna be starting for the Dolphins on the offensive line. Jackson Ottoman.
Yeah.
Liam Eichenberg and Patrick Paul are going to be starting for you on the offensive line next week. Like, you just know that's what's destined for this team.
Teron Armstead, by the third quarter today, his knee is going to tap out, and he's like, hey, big fella, I got nothing left. Can we please go? Like, his knee is going to talk up to him and be like, can we go home now, please? I'm tired.
But on the other end, can you dream up a better upset for the Dolphins than going to Buffalo next week after Carson Wentz saved your season by beating the Broncos and somehow, some way beating the Bills? Yeah. It entices me, Tobin. It does.
It entices you. Look, a unicorn just came up to my window. We'll take a break. We'll look into this playoff picture and some news around the league as well after the fallout from yesterday. And we'll hear a little bit from Mike McDaniel and Calais Campbell on watching this playoff picture unfold. Lots to dive into on Gameday Uncensored, streaming live on YouTube and Twitch, the channel Miami 560 WQAM, and on the Odyssey app, AUDACY, free in your app stores. So you guys can listen to us and stream us in your ears. Take a break. Back after this.
Text WQAM on the Kendall Toyota
Let's get back to Game Day Uncensored on AM 560 Sports, WQAM, FM 99.9 HD2, and always live on the free Odyssey app.
Brought to you by South Florida Lexus dealers and the Lexus RX, the luxury SUV for those who never want to lose their edge. Experience amazing at your Lexus dealer. Also sponsored by the free Odyssey app. Download it today to listen to us live or on demand. And by Edmore Sawgrass Buick GMC. No matter where you lease your vehicle, bring it to Edmore Sawgrass Buick GMC, your lease return headquarters. It's all a part of being backed by Morse. Click EdmoreSawgrassBuickGMC.com, a proud partner of the Miami Dolphins.
And welcome back, everybody. It's Game Day Uncensored here, 560 WQAM. Tobin here with you alongside Alejandro Solana. Dan Day with us as well. We'll take you guys up until the 4:25 kick from MetLife Stadium. A miserable day up there in New Jersey, as they all are. I mean, this one just is colder than usual. I mean, it's a miserable place to be. But 35 degrees. I saw Sal Pal. He said it feels like 25. I'm like, oh, boy. You know, we'll see. So Mike McDaniel, bundle up, dude. All right. Stop, stop going in there with just one hoodie. You need to get a little bit more attire there to keep your skinny body warm.
You think he's going to be wearing gloves today? You think he goes gloves, no gloves?
He better go gloves.
You think so?
He better. He's just look. There's no shame in Mike McDaniel wearing layers. He's a very thin man. He needs it. He needs it.
Oh, does he need it? He needs a lot. He needs some protein in his body. Is what he needs. Like. This guy, he needs more sleep. He needs a little protein in his body, maybe like a protein bar in the morning, and he needs 17 layers today so that my head coach isn't on the sideline shivering like a 16 girl when it's 55 degrees outside. Like, come on, man. Come on. This is football, bro. It's a National Football League. You can't be shaking on the sideline where you're the head coach of a football team.
Man, the last night the Bengals defeated the Steelers 19-17, so they put themselves in position. If the Broncos and Dolphins lose, they will sneak into the playoffs.
They're so good.
Oh yeah. Did you see that hit that Joe Buthro took where he got oh my God. Dude, he got hit by two Steelers and they face planted him into the turf. And I was like, man, if that was Tua, he's out for a month. Like, there's no way. Like, it was like I felt bad for Joe Buthro. I'm like, how is he out there? That's ridiculous.
Oh my God, man.
You looking at it right now?
Yeah.
Yeah, it was crazy. I mean, he took a beating in that one.
Hey, no joke. That's like 750 pounds landing on you.
Yep.
Really, like both those defensive linemen are 300 pounds. Both of them, full force. Throwing him into the dirt, both landing on him at the exact same time. That's 700 pounds landing on you with force. That's crazy, man.
Man, pretty wild. Then they also had the Ravens. They finished with a 12-win season, 35-10 over the Browns. I talked a little bit about that. That was a blowout. The only other thing that was of note yesterday, Ken Dorsey, our beloved Ken Dorsey, Miami Hurricanes legend, has been fired once again as he picked the Browns job to be an offensive coordinator this year, and he had to deal with the likes of Deshaun Watson, Jameis Winston, Dorian Thompson-Robinson, and Bailey Zappi, much to my surprise yesterday. So Ken Dorsey is once again out.
I will say, though, Buffalo, they fired him a couple of years ago, and it's kind of been like uphill since.
It really has been. No, that's fair. That's totally fair. They have
no hate to Ken Dorsey. Love him. You know, icon in Miami, but
good QB coach. You know, like they really like. I feel like he was good at like turning around. He was Josh Allen's QB coach initially when they had what's his name, the head coach of the Giants, Daboll.
Oh, Brian Daboll, yeah.
Yeah. And then he was Cam Newton's as well. So I don't know. I'm sure Ken Dorsey will land on his feet somewhere. He's got a lot of credentials, but his last two OC stops have not gone fantastic. And man, the thing I love about Ken Dorsey the most, and it pains me that this had to be the Dolphins that did this to him, But when he had that meltdown as the Bills offensive coordinator, now every time they go to him in the booth, you could just see the vein like popping out of his forehead, and you're just waiting for him to crack. It's a delight.
That's the last time the Dolphins beat the Bills, right?
It was
Here in Miami. And look, a win is a win. They kind of lucked into that one too. And I think the previous time they beat the Bills was when Charles Clay dropped a wide open touchdown pass in the end zone as well.
Yep.
Like,
no, Josh Allen.
Take a win, but
no, like Stephen Ross sold to Joe Side 10% of the Miami Dolphins, but I'm pretty sure that Josh Allen has taken 10% of the Miami Dolphins. Like he gets a stake as well.
And if we play them in the playoffs next week, he's going to have more than 10%. I promise you that. What's more surprising to you, Tobin? I was thinking about this earlier. The Bills this season, because they're low key, like everybody's favorite to win the Super Bowl right now. And rightfully so. I know, look, everybody's going to have the take of until you take down the Chiefs, they're the Chiefs. And I agree with that. The Ravens were everybody's pick this year coming into the season. They've kind of looked up and down. They're back on track now. But the Bills, I think because of the Lions' defensive injuries, have kind of been like that new team. Everybody's saying, oh, that's the sexy pick right now to go win the Super Bowl. And if you remember what we were saying about the Bills, not just in Miami, by the way. I mean, we're a bunch of haters. Like we hate Bills Mafia. We hate the Bills. I mean, we were predicting a huge drop off from them this season coming into the year based on they traded Stephon Diggs. Like
they have Matt Collins out there catching. They have a man who doesn't walk in. He does TikToks every week, and he does the gritty when he downs a football on special teams. He doesn't wear shoes, and that was like one of his go-to receivers most of the season.
You want to know what Matt Collins like 2 weeks ago, he posted one of his TikTok videos, how to properly put away an extension cord, like how to properly roll it up.
Like on your elbow.
Right. But he showed you like the proper method for longevity of the extension cord. Like, I don't know what he's doing. He's teaching you things that like a 45-year-old dad would be teaching his son, you know, like it's just a very weird dynamic. But what's more surprising, that the Bills being this good or the Jets looking this bad?
The Jets looking this bad because the Bills beating the Dolphins, you know, isn't surprising. Like it really, with everything that's gone, especially with Tua missing 6 games, like nothing should be surprising about where the Bills are. The Dolphins did play them better the second time around, even though they completely wet themselves the first time, which was kind of the tone for the season. Tua gets hurt. So that really shouldn't be as surprising. The Jets being this catastrophically bad, like Woody Johnson hating Aaron Rodgers and firing everybody. It has been crazy to see. I shouldn't be because it is the Jets, I understand, but that has been, I mean, just an incredible. Like they were and the Jets fan was so excited to get Aaron Rodgers, dude. I mean, you had Greeny and Jet Up and our own beloved Vlad. I mean, he loves his Jets. He was so excited for Aaron Rodgers. And then he's got to sit here and poor Vlad has to watch Aaron Rodgers in a Costa Rican river, like watch the mud cascade over him. Meanwhile, the Dolphins safety was there as well. Also high as a kite with his Himalayan music bowls. You know, no judgment. It's just like, I can't believe Ricky Williams had to go to Australia in a tent because of the same thing. It was wild.
Well, it wasn't even the same thing. Like Ricky Williams is just smoking a joint.
Smoking some weed.
These guys are literally trying to teleport to another universe to find out more about themselves.
Here's Mike McDaniel. This is him on the team being eager to try and win its way into the postseason.
You wouldn't know that they've been listening to me for 6 months straight. You know, they're pretty eager to go practice today, and you know, I can tell that they feel that they have some more football to play, and they want to do everything that they can control to make sure that that opportunity is taken advantage of if given.
All right. I mean, like, that's good. I'm glad that he's not being tuned out.
Yeah.
It's you guys, you'd be surprised how much they're actually listening to me. I really thought I lost them. You think they're all wearing sunglasses in the meeting so it seems like they're awake?
But they're all knocked out.
Yeah.
Probably. I mean, hey man, if we're this sick of listening to Mike McDaniel, again, love the guy, think he's a good dude. I don't think he's a bad coach either. I don't know if he's a great coach. I don't think he's a bad coach. We're just sick of listening to him ramble. Imagine being around it every day, Tobin. Like, imagine being around that every single day. It's got to be exhausting.
All right, we'll take a break here on Game Day Uncensored. When we come back, we'll get into all things Tua Tagovailoa's hip injury. Some updates today from NFL Network, kind of contradictory to what Tua was saying to the media this week. We'll hear a little bit from QB1 on it. Take a break. Back with more Game Day Uncensored after this.
Text WQAM on the Kendall Toyota text
HD2, and always live on the free Odyssey app.
Brought to you by South Florida Lexus dealers and the Lexus RX, the luxury SUV for those who never want to lose their edge. Experience amazing at your Lexus dealer. Also sponsored by the free Odyssey app. Download it today to listen to us live or on demand. And by Edmore Sawgrass Buick GMC. No matter where you lease your vehicle, bring it to Edmore Sawgrass Buick GMC, your lease return headquarters. It's all a part of being backed by Morse. Click EdmoreSawgrassBuickGMC.com, a proud partner of the Miami Dolphins.
And welcome back in, everybody. It's hour 2 here of Game Day Uncensored on 560 WQAM as we get you ready for Dolphins, Jets, Week 18 of the NFL season. Miami Dolphins still with the crack to get into the postseason. Got to beat the Jets. Need the Kansas City Chiefs to beat the Broncos. But, of course, the Chiefs 15-1 on the season, have nothing to play for. So they will go out there today with no Travis Tate, with no Patrick Mahomes, and they will need the backups. You know, that I think they got that fullback who like has a pet crocodile or something like that. They'll have him try and go out there and rush for 200 yards and see if they could beat the Broncos. Hey, listen, Sean Payton can be a bit of a boob in his post-Saints career. You know, he didn't seem like he knew the ties, so maybe he's lost his fastball a little bit, Solana. Maybe he can botch this.
Yeah, and look, maybe this is me just having one of those like fantasy outlooks, but if there was a team, Tobin, that is structured properly, that has like the institutional fortitude in place to go out there and win a game, a meaningless game for them with their backups, it would have to be the 2-time defending Super Bowl champions that have won 3 of the last 4, right? Like, I know I'm grasping at straws here. I really am. But it's not crazy. Hey, like backups in there, they just run the same scheme. They've been preparing for this all season. This is Carson Wentz's opportunity to go out there and show other teams like, hey, I can still sling it. You think Sam Darnold is looking impressive? You think Geno Smith has had a good turnaround? I can have one of those turnarounds as well. Like, there's something on the line here for those guys. So I think that's what you're hoping for. Like, the Chiefs go out there and just figure out a way to get this done. And the fact that it's snowing and the conditions are going to be brutal, to me, plays in their favor.
All right, well, we'll get back into the game here in just a bit, and Adam Beasley is going to join us later on this hour for his normal hit. We'll talk to our guy Bees and get his thoughts on all things Dolphins, because it has been a newsworthy week, you know, where there's some Chris Greer rumblings we got to get to as well. But Tua dealing with his hip, he spoke to the media this week, but this was the update this morning from Ian Rappaport on NFL Network, their top insider, and he gives kind of an ominous layover of where things are with Tua's hip, and this is what Rappaport had to say today on NFL Network.
Tua Tagovailoa, the Dolphins starting quarterback, not expected to play today, dealing with what has been described to me as a painful and unique hip injury. It is affecting the muscle in the hip, and it has limited significantly his strength and mobility. He is, I'm told, at risk of further injury if he plays, which is why, Rich, he has not been cleared if he plays before the swelling goes down. That muscle could tear further. And from what I am told, he is very much up in the air for next week if the Dolphins advance.
That's not great, dude. I got to be honest with you. Like, when I heard that today, you know, because Tua, he's adorable, right? And he makes me believe. You know, I don't think Tua's a liar. I don't feel like he's trying to lie to me. And so he's like, no ifs, ands, or buts this week. I'm like, oh, right, Tua. Great. I mean, kind of, you know, you're like, well, if it happens. But Rappaport basically saying that this is an injury that the report was it's affecting his surrounding muscles. He's got no strength, no mobility, and he's vulnerable to get hurt even worse. Like, none of that is conducive to I can go play quarterback in the NFL anytime soon.
So I don't think Tua's lying because he doesn't lie. On the contrary, he's always been too honest. He's always been too transparent about everything. So I don't think he's lying, but Tobin, to me, that sounded like Ian Rappaport was saying that there's a tear in his hip, right?
Yeah, it sounds like there is some kind of a small tear, and the tear can get worse. Definitely, dude. Yeah,
Right.
it sounds like some kind of a strain, and a strain is a tear. Like it doesn't sound, but like when you strain something, Leroy will tell you, like, that's a tear.
It's a tear.
They're giving it a cute name. They're giving it a little baby tear. Whatever you want to say. It's a baby pterodactyl. It's a tear.
But to be fair, like a strain is different from, hey, you've been diagnosed with a torn muscle.
Yeah, because
you know
maybe
I mean?
something's completely torn.
Correct, but it's still there's a difference. Like we've all strained something before. There's a big difference between straining a muscle and like having a full tear. Is all I'm saying. You can play through a strained muscle. The question is, even if the Dolphins do make the playoffs, right? And you're right. Like, this isn't something that in 2 weeks heals. I mean, this is something that would take, probably north of a month. And Tua wants to gut it out, right? He wants to. Is he going to be mobile enough? Is he going to be dynamic enough to go out there and make plays? Is this going to limit him from forget the injury aspect? Obviously, that's the back of our mind. But I'm saying, can he go out there and execute the plays that the Dolphins are going to need him to be able to execute based on how limited function he's going to have in his hip and in his lower body? Like, that to me is a big concern too, because if he's not that I want to go into a playoff game with Snoop Huntley, but I also want to have a chance. I don't want my quarterback to be a sitting duck in the backfield.
Hey man, I'm with you. It's definitely one of those things that has to be concerning for him. This was Tua this week. He was asked about the state of his injury and how frustrated he is with it. And here was Uno on being frustrated as hell.
Are you frustrated, and how are you feeling right now, like just through all of this kind of going?
Hell yeah, I'm frustrated. I'm frustrated. Yeah, I'm frustrated.
Wow. I mean, it's I don't think you can get any plainer with that of where he's at. This was the quote though this week that is now a bit in question, as he said, "There's no doubt that I can play if we make the playoffs."
Do you feel it could improve to the point where you could play in another week if the team makes the playoffs?
Yeah. If the cards play out the way they should, and the way we know and think they can, I'm gonna be available next week. There's no ifs, ands, or buts. Like I'll be playing. That's for sure.
All right. And that's great.
That.
Yeah, well, probably not. But like you say that he can't help from being honest, and I think that's true. But I also think that Tua is also in a place where he also is just really, really done with he like he said, I don't want to be the face of concussions. He doesn't want to be known as the non-durable guy. He knows what the labels. I don't care what noise you block out. Have knows what dude. You know the responsibility, and you know what it's like when you're not out there. What everyone's going to be saying and what everybody's going to be feeling. And so, he's already had the thing this year where, okay, I feel good. And you feel like you can go out there and give it a go and you want to be. But on the same press conference, you're also telling me this is about as much pain as you've been in since your ankle was broken. So I don't know what to make of it, dude. I think that he is I think he wants to go out there because he wants to put to bed narratives, and he wants to put to bed not being a guy who is undurable, but he's not durable. He's had these injuries. These have been injuries that he's dealt with since college, whatever you want to say, the same area, but concussion, hip, these are things that he's had before. And now he's dealing with it again at the most critical time.
And when he says like, I'm frustrated, I'm frustrated, it sounds like he's about to cry. Bro, I feel for him.
I do too.
Because forget the narratives for a second. Forget that we're Dolphins fans and that we're frustrated with the fact that the guy we made this investment to isn't available. Forget that for a second. Like, this is a guy who has he has the tools to be an elite quarterback at the highest level. He's worked for this moment his entire life, and it's being taken away from him by things out of his control. So I feel for that as a person. I feel for him. With that being said, he, in his mind, has built up who he is, which is a warrior. And he believes that. By the way, I'm not saying he's not. But sometimes in your mind, you can do things that your body just won't allow.
Sure.
And that an organization who has made an investment for you does not believe is the wisest choice to make. So Tua probably shouldn't have said no ifs, ands, or buts, because if the Dolphins do make the playoffs and the doctors are telling Mike McDaniel, Chris Greer, Stephen Ross, hey, this guy has a strain. If 300-pounders fall on him, that could tear. And you know how long the recovery process is for a hip tear, whatever muscle it is, I don't know. It's not going to be 3 weeks. I'll tell you that much. That is a tough situation to put your investment at risk in, considering he's already had major injury concerns and a major injury history in that exact same spot. So he might feel, and Tobin, heart of hearts, he might feel like, I'm going in that game. I don't give a bleep. But I just don't think it's up to him whether or not he ends up playing.
Yeah, it's not. It's not. Here was him giving a little reflection on all the games that he's missed and knowing he's got to try to find a way to be more available.
I think the biggest thing, and it has been my thing since last year, obviously the concussions have been a thing, and then just off of that, other injuries that have stacked, up with the concussions to where I'm missing games. It's frustrating. That's the frustrating part, and I think that's something to take into consideration for myself, for the team, and just moving forward to stay available for more than one season. That's for sure, more than one season, and yeah, that's just the frustrating part about it.
So what can you do? I mean, that you haven't done already. Is there anything?
I think that's something to think about this offseason. That's something to talk with the coaches. And essentially it just falls on my plate. Just protecting myself better and things that I already know.
All right, dude. Well,
I don't like that last part because, man, like what else do you need to hear to know that you have to protect yourself? Like seriously, what else?
it's one of these things that I go back to the offseason about losing the weight and trying to extend plays. And I understand why you want to do that, because you feel like you need to be this dual threat quarterback and a guy. Dude, it's just not going to be you. Like, you have to make the best out of what your skill set is and what you can do. And the best Tua by far was last year's Tua, who sat in that pocket, chucked bombs, chucked it over the middle. If it was dead, it was dead. And that's it. And if you can't extend plays every once in a while, fine. But you're not going to miss 6 games. Every other time he's tried to do this, Nick Saban's been saying this since he was a wee lad, it's ended in disaster for him. So I want you to, exactly, Josh, in our chat, you sit on that couch this summer or this winter. You eat that Haagen-Dazs. We need thick Tua back. We do. I need a fat ass Tua. I need Tua to have a real BBL when he comes back to camp next year. I want his fat ass sitting in that pocket, and if he gets knocked over, do a jiu-jitsu roll, roly-poly style. No more running out of the pocket. Every time he does it, he can't do it. He can't hold up for it. I don't know how much more evidence we need of this.
You want BBL right? Tua. BBL Tua.
Yeah, that's right. Yep. Big, beautiful lefty. Take a break. Speaking of Tua, Snoop Huntley stepping in for him. What does Tyler Huntley have for the Dolphins coming up here in this must-win scenario? We'll get to that as Game Day Uncensored rolls on after this.
WQAM broadcasting live from the
On AM 560 Sports, WQAM, FM 99.9 HD2, and always live on the free Odyssey app.
Brought to you by South Florida Lexus dealers and the Lexus RX, the luxury SUV for those who never want to lose their edge. Experience amazing at your Lexus dealer. Also sponsored by the free Odyssey app. Download it today to listen to us live or on demand. And by Edmore Sawgrass Chevrolet. Edmore Sawgrass Chevrolet is your lease return headquarters. Click EdmoreSawgrassChevrolet.com and see how you're backed by Morse when it comes to returning your lease. Ed Morse is a proud partner of the Miami Dolphins.
Welcome back, everybody. Welcome back. It is Game Day Uncensored here, 560 WQAM. Adam Beasley going to join us later on this hour. We'll talk to Bees and get you right for Dolphins and Jets. A lot of happenings around the building. A lot of ramifications of today if the Dolphins do not make the playoffs. Who knows what Stephen Ross could be thinking if this all ends. You give me a puzzled look.
You don't feel that way, right? You feel like Greer safe, McDaniel safe, no matter what happens today.
I've always thought McDaniel was going to be safe. I never thought that he was in danger of getting fired. I think that, for him to lose his starting quarterback for 6 games and to fire him, it would have had to be real bad, Solana. Like, it would have had to been like 5-win bad for that to happen. So, no, I never thought. Greer, I'm interested in. There's a lot of Greer smoke that we'll get into with Adam Beasley. Apparently, there's people calling around about him. Obviously, this has probably been the year where there's been the most heat on him to get fired. But he also, like this whole 5 straight winning seasons, even though 3 of them are Fugazi 8-8 bump ups, if that does happen. It does seem like maybe there's some talk of like, hey, maybe do something else with us, dude. Seems like a very lovely man, right? Seems like a very lovely man that everybody loves, which you don't like to see good people have bad things happen to them and lose their jobs. So this guy's been a loyal member of the organization. Maybe there's a potential this goes somewhere else. So we'll get into that a little bit with Bees and let you guys know what's been kicking around the stratosphere with that. But first, let's get to some keys to the game here, which are brought to you by Doral Hyundai. At Doral Hyundai, choose from over 1,300 new Hyundai miles in inventory like the Tucson, Sonata, and Palisade. Remember, when it comes to Hyundai, the great deals are at Doral Hyundai. And this is Snoop Huntley continuing to do what he does, which was be fun, be a dual threat. He was awesome last week. And here is what Tyler Huntley said about playing with confidence in last week's game and with this Dolphins roster.
Man, yeah, just being at the position that we in, if we just continue to win, we making the definite where we're going, So we just got to continue to play how we've been playing the last couple of weeks, clean up the mistakes, and I feel like a team can't step on the field with us when we're doing the right thing.
There you go. I mean, like, he definitely, I think that's one of Mike McDaniel's points about him from the get-go, Solana, is everybody does seem to believe in Snoop in that team. I think that they do have that he has a cachet that Skylar Thompson very much does not have. And it does feel like that locker room does believe in Snoop and his ability to make plays, which is a good thing.
Yeah, well, the question is, was that a case of like Snoop can make plays and Snoop has understood McDaniel's scheme and how McDaniel wants things to run, or are the Browns just god awful? Like that, I think that's a fair skepticism to have, which is, hey, is Snoop actually fit for this type of offense, or did he just do it against maybe the worst team in the National Football League? But I would lean towards, look, he's been here now, 2.5 months, Tobin? There had to be improvement. And I think you just saw a quarterback go out there and at the end of the day, make plays. As simple as it sounds. He just wanted to make plays, and he succeeded in doing that.
Mike McDaniel, he gave a little bit of insight into why he loves Snoop Huntley's demeanor for this team. Here was the Dolphins head coach on Snoop.
It helps him a lot in terms of dealing with the unknown as well, where you don't overthink, whether or not, last week he didn't overthink whether or not he was playing. He prepares as though he's going to play. And as a result, he's prepared when he plays. and I think that's not easy for everyone. I think some people need to know exactly, okay, so how's this week going to look? And when you're dealing with injuries at times, you don't have a roadmap, and that hasn't made him worse. He's flourished in the unknown and just taken care of what he can control, and is prepared each and every day, which is what his teammates definitely regard and respect.
Yeah. Well, look, he's had to have probably a clearer path this week, knowing. I mean, Mike McDaniel made it known from jump this week that Snoop was going to get more reps in practice than Tua. None of the media saw much of what Tua did this week.
Nothing.
The week beforehand, they had said on the broadcast, Mike McDaniel kind of pivoted on Thursday. He's like, Tua doesn't look right. And then they veered off into Snoop Huntley. Now they've kind of known, hey, this is going to be a full Snoop week. If the football injury gods can come down and heal Tua's hip, okay, they'll worry about that when they get to it. But Snoop feels like he's had the reins on this all week.
Yeah, well, Tua has a muscle injury, so you're trying to recover from muscle injury. You don't go out there and practice. You go out there and just stand around and look pretty. I mean, that's what you do. So Tua didn't do anything in practice this week. Yeah, I mean, they know. They all know it was Snoop Huntley the whole way. I think the idea that Tua was going to be able to go out there and play was never. This has never been a serious option. It's just a lot of smoke. It's a lot of chatter by Tua. He kind of, as you said, he wants to shut down the narratives. He doesn't want people to think that he's soft, that I think he's trying to frame it as he's being held out, which is probably what it is. The Dolphins have prepared this week to go out there and play with Snoop Huntley. But again, I want to stress this, Tobin. I don't think it matters who your quarterback is. You should beat the New York Jets.
Agreed. They suck.
Yeah.
One man who doesn't suck is Adam Beasley. Quite the opposite of suck. We love talking to Bees. He will join us on Gameday Uncensored coming up next.
Text WQAM on the Kendall Toyota
Sports WQAM FM 99.9 HD2 and always live on the free Odyssey app.
Brought to you by South Florida Lexus dealers and the Lexus RX, the luxury SUV for those who never want to lose their edge. Experience amazing at your Lexus dealer. Also sponsored by the free Odyssey app. Download it today to listen to us live or on demand. And by Edmore Sawgrass Cadillac. When it comes to returning your lease, Ed Morse has your back. Ed Morse Sawgrass Cadillac is your lease return headquarters. Click edmoresawgrasscadillac.com. Ed Morse is a proud partner of the Miami Dolphins.
And welcome back, everybody. It's game day. Uncensored here. 560 WQAM. That time of the show, man. We talked to our guy, longtime reporter on the Miami Dolphins, Adam Beasley, joining us here on the show. Hello, Bees.
Where did this year go, my friends? Where did it go?
I don't know, man. It went too fast. It went too fast, and yet it's all feeling all too familiar with the season ending the way it seems like it's going to end. What is your confidence level today about the Miami Dolphins playoff chances going into the Meadowlands, a frigid Meadowlands with a backup QB, and the need of the Broncos to lose to the Chiefs backups?
Low, I guess.
Yeah.
Low is the answer. Yeah, not particularly high because, well, let's ask you guys. Tobin, how long have you followed the Miami Dolphins?
Long time, and it's feeling all too familiar.
Solana, Dan, about the same?
Yep.
Yeah, Bees. I was born in 1994, so the last time the Dolphins won a playoff game, I was 5 years old.
I was following since Dan Marino in the 80s, so yeah.
Even that era had some heartbreak, right? I mean, it's not like they were winning titles then. Look, so, all right, yeah. If you're going by history, things aren't going to go as expected, or, well, maybe as expected, but certainly not as desired today. I think the Dolphins are underdogs now, right? Is the line flipped?
Has that flipped?
They were 1.5 point favorites, and now I think they're 1.5 point dogs. So that's the Tua power, obviously, and it suggests that the betting public didn't think that what they all saw at Snoop last week is sustainable, that he's going to do it again. And again, I don't think anyone should expect that level of play from Snoop. They call it a career day for a reason. It happens once in a career. But if they can get 80% of that, I think the Jets have been in Cancun mode for like a month. Like, did you guys see those comments from DJ Reed?
I did not. What did he say?
Oh my God. It was Solana, do you have it
I don't have it up. I could look him up, but I did.
No, it was essentially, yeah, he talked to Tyler Dunn, one of my boys who's out of Buffalo, who's really, really good sports writer. And basically said, man, dude, post game after their loss in week 17, I cannot wait to hit free agency.
Oh my God. What a disaster. I mean, just everything. That is the one thing. Like, yeah, the Dolphins are stuck in mediocrity, but man, the Jets this year, what an epic fail with everybody. They were so excited to have Aaron Rodgers do his thing, and he just looked completely washed up.
For 2 years, too. But, Bees, I remember reading a bro in there. One of my buddies, a Jets fan, sent it to me. I'm ready to go to free agency, bro. I'm ready to see what's next for me. Like, he just, not even hiding it. Just, yeah, come on. This is done. What's crazy is the Jets fan has to eat the fact that Aaron Rodgers couldn't have a better season than their quarterback a season ago, which I think has to hit differently. About 2 years ago, you're getting Aaron. He tears his Achilles 4 plays in. Fine, it is what it is. We're going to ride with Zach Wilson. And to know that Zach Wilson's Jets was better than the savior, the great savior, the best Jets quarterback since Namath, he fell short of Zach Wilson, to me, just fills me with so much joy. It really does. It really does.
And after what we've seen, Sam Darnold do, I would be really, really interested to see what a reclamation project for Zach Wilson would look like, because, I mean, the guy had the talent to go top 5 in the draft. That didn't just vanish. I mean, yeah, he has to learn how to play quarterback at the NFL level, but maybe it's just that franchise is totally just cursed. So, no, I think the Dolphins do win today, even with Snoop, but there's no way The Broncos cannot lose that game. Like, they cannot lose that game to Carson Wentz, maybe for a half. And I think they're talking about getting their third stringer, someone whose name escapes me. Someone has it on the tip of their tongue. But like, that's what the Dolphins are hoping for today. So I'm guessing. Now, of course, the most Dolphins thing ever would be for the Broncos to lose and the Dolphins to lose, right? I mean, that would be the most Dolphins thing ever. But I just don't see that happening.
What have you made this week, Bees? There's been some rumblings and rumors about Chris Greer either retiring and taking a new position, or there being some kind of a change. I mean, I know that there's been the call out. I know you said it was time to move on from Chris Greer this year. Do you feel like they're going to set him up because he's a liked guy and possibly do something else with the team? Or what do you make of all this stuff nationally that's kind of been out there?
Yeah, no, that it is really fascinating, and it makes sense if you know how Steve Ross operates, because like Steve really doesn't like firing people he likes. Like it's weird, man. He liked Joe Philbin, and he gave Joe Philbin a 4th year. Okay, so if you treat Steve with respect, and you try hard and you run, I guess, a cleanish program, because it's not like Philbin had he had a renegade locker room that went on underneath his nose. But if you try hard and you have a modicum of success, you get a long leash if you're Steve Ross. People forget. I mean, obviously we know why Flo got fired, but people forget that Adam Gase didn't get fired because of the on-field stuff. He got fired because he lost the locker room and he lost the owner. Like his attitude is a big reason why he didn't get a 4th season in Miami. So it certainly rings true. It doesn't surprise me that if it's time to move on organizationally from Chris Greer, that they're going to find him a soft landing spot. He generated a ton of goodwill. I mean, he probably knows too that like it's not going to be if you're Chris Greer and you have a pretty good idea that this might be my last year as a GM, he's not going to get another GM job, right? It's not like I know some of these guys get recycled, but it just doesn't seem like he'd be one of them. So is he going to go be a college scouting director for, the Patriots or something? No, if you can offer, if I'm Chris Greer, and if you can offer me a job where I'm still contributing to a franchise that I have built up a lot of credibility, and it does make sense. Now, to me, the more fascinating question is what's next? Like if this is it for Chris, what's next? Do you hire a GM that's McDaniel crony? I mean, is that the plan you go, or do you go and find a strong independent GM?
Does he have cronies? Does McDaniel? He doesn't strike me as a crony type. Does he have like?
Oh, sure he does. Like that. I mean, basically that Flo did not have cronies. Okay, like he did not have a support system at all. Basically, New England was it. I mean, McDaniel's worked for a ton of franchises with a ton of people. You got to think back. I mean, Denver is a ball boy, but I'm sure that doesn't translate. But Houston had a full-time job, Washington full-time job, Cleveland full-time job, Atlanta, then San Francisco, then Miami. He's been in a lot of places, and wouldn't surprise me if there's some young up and coming hotshot in the San Francisco system that maybe he's like, hey, Steve, this guy can really make us take the next step. I for one don't want my head coach with that much power. I don't want my head coach picking the players. Input's great. Collaboration's great. At the end of the day, you need to have a strong GM who doesn't let you do things like, make Tua the 3rd highest paid player in the history of the league, and then he plays 10 games or whatever. I mean, that's, again, we can play hindsight, but that deal got done because Mike McDaniel wanted that deal to get done. I don't know if it would have gotten done if he didn't get up on the table. And look, I said at the time, you've got to, if Tua is your future, you got to do it now and not 9 months or whatever, because the finances involved. But I'm not the one making those decisions. Chris Greer and Mike McDaniel are. And if they lose today, oh my God, if they lose today and the Broncos lose and they lose because of quarterback play, like that's going to really stick in the craw. Steve Ross and everyone else who's run that organization, because like they're rolling with Tua. I mean, Tua is their guy at the very least next year, and probably 2026 too, because of how the contract is structured. And it didn't have to be that way. Like they could have let him play out the string and franchise if he had a great year. I know for organizational harmony, that's not the best, but that is a route they could have taken. And if you're going to play the result, again, I was on record saying you need to get Tua signed if he's your guy long term, right? You've got to get this done. And if he had another Pro Bowl season this year, the price of him would have been $65 million instead of 53. Again, there are a lot of factors involved. But if I'm Ross and I'm saying, okay, you guys had the keys of the kingdom, and here we are at 8-9, and we missed the playoffs because the quarterback couldn't get healthy, there's going to be someone else to answer for that.
Yeah, even if they're 9-8 B's, like what really, to me, none of that stuff really matters. Like, okay, you had a winning season, and there's definitely some merit to being 2-6, not quitting, turning it around, finding your way to 9-8 and mattering in week 18. Like, I realize that, but what does it matter when you have the owner on local television in the preseason saying Super Bowl this season is what he wants? Like, is his thought process going in to the year? What do you make of, because you said if Tua is your future, and then we all understand, like you then reiterated, hey, Tua is your future based on the contract situation. What do you make of what's going on with Tua right now? Because he made it very clear he's frustrated. Then he says no ifs, ands, or buts. I'm playing next week if we do make the playoffs. But to me, and Tobin and I were talking about it, it sounds like somebody who's frustrated with A, the fact that he's been injured this much in his career, but B, the fact that his team is trying to protect him from something that he doesn't feel like he needs protection from. And the Dolphins, in my opinion, are trying to just protect their investment.
Yeah, no, they absolutely are. And if this was 37-year-old Tua and this was their last hurrah or whatever, throw him out there. It's his life. He can do what he wants. To your point, they need him in 2025. Like, you cannot have a torn hip that you're rehabbing from all offseason because you were determined to play in a game that, I mean, I understand it means something, but in the grand scheme of things, how important is this game for this franchise? Because even if they win it, there's still a 1 in 4 chance to make the playoffs, right? So, and if you do make the playoffs, you're going to Buffalo. So, the broader picture, I totally get why they're doing it. I just don't know how they can go into this offseason and feel like Tua and Snoop is enough at quarterback. Like, to me, that's the bigger question. Like, do you have to get a quarterback 1A now? And what does that cost? And what does that cost in man hours to find and creativity with a team without a ton of salary cap space? Do you go to the draft in a pretty weak draft year? I mean, I'm totally cool with using a 3rd round pick on a quarterback because that's where, lotto tickets are supposed to be taken. But do not try to talk me into using the 13th overall pick on a quarterback, because I just think the field, I mean, if there was quarterback worthy of that spot, sure, go for it, but it's not going to be this year just because there's not enough good prospects. So
you could go and get another lefty Hawaiian who just said he wants to play nothing but domes and sunshine, and Dylan Gabriel.
Well, that would be an interesting fit for sure, but he might be available in round 3 now that you mentioned it. So.
Well, after that performance, yeah, I can't believe I can't imagine that did him any favors.
Yeah, there's some frauds exposed in this college football playoff this year, that's for sure. No, they're in a tough spot, man. And look, I think if you take a step back, and people are like, oh, why would anyone want to take this GM job if it opens up? Why would anyone want that? It's like, are you nuts? Are you nuts? First of all, there's 32 of them on the planet. There might be 5 of them this cycle, 4 or 5 of them max this cycle. And one of those, the New York Jets, okay? Like, this isn't the same disaster of a franchise that you see in Chicago, you see in New York, like Cleveland. Like, even Cleveland is far messier than this team. And they have a playoff win this century. So, no, I think they would be able to find someone who could do the job. It's just the question is it someone who's going to be able to tell McDaniel no? And that's the broader question, is you have to be able to tell Mike no, because when left to his own devices, he's not someone you want managing your roster. He's not. He's someone you want coaching your football team. And if that's his job, his number one job, I think he'll be fine. If he is some quasi executive / head coach, largely unearned at this point in his career, like those usually go to the guys that are 20 years in as a head coach with pelts on the wall and all that. Not a guy who's got 2 playoff appearances, maybe 3. Whoever that next GM is has to stand up to McDaniel and make hard decisions for the betterment of the franchise.
But is McDaniel after that power, Bees? Like maybe I'm missing the dynamic within the organization here. You're obviously a lot closer to it, but is he after that type of power, or is it just the assumption that a smart mind like McDaniel, because of the situation, is going to almost, try to navigate through and steal some of that power? Because I never, I guess, digested it that way, that McDaniel was kind of like trying to dictate what was happening behind the scenes. To me, it almost felt like he understood the dynamic at play, which was Greer's making the personnel decisions. And obviously Greer consults with him, but at the end of the day, like there was somebody making those decisions and he was in charge of what he was in charge of.
No, I think every single player the Dolphins have brought in have been at the very least advocated for by Mike McDaniel. I think he has a huge, huge impact on the construction of this roster. And I get it. You don't want your GM bringing in players that the head coach doesn't like. I understand that. But at the end of the day, it's not his job to pick the players. It's not. And I think, and look, some of them worked out. Like Devon Achane was a Mike McDaniel pick. There's no 2 ways around it. And that's worked out pretty good. But if it was Mike's idea to have the backup quarterback situation that they had this year, if it was Mike's idea to have the interior offensive line that they have this year, if it was Mike's idea to make Tyreek happy and Jalen Ramsey happy and Jalen Waddle happy. Again, I think the Waddle contract, I think that's going to pan out okay for them, but there was absolutely no reason to guarantee more money for Tyreek and Ramsey aside from locker room harmony, right? And that's not Chris Greer's number one concern, right? His number one concern is getting the best players in and maximizing the salary cap. That's his job. I think it's a head coach's job to make sure that the people in that locker room are happy and productive. It can't always be you pay them off, though. Like, you can't just say, okay, let's throw money at this problem. Tyreek, he's got a lot of overhead, right? He's got a lot of expenses in his life. He needs more cash. Let's throw more money at him. That's not the job of a coach.
You buy that Anthony Weaver is getting like a lot of head coaching buzz. I mean, having this defense ranked as high as they did with, a lot of things thrown their way, basically no veteran pass rushers coming into this year, I guess, other than Agba. So you buy that he's earned his way into a head coaching position?
I think it's a very high likelihood that he gets a job. I think he would have been the next man up anyway, kind of, so to speak, because he had 2 interviews, I believe, last year. So his name would have been back in, and now he's got a year. Like, people remember, he had his 1 year as DC in Houston was bad. Like, that was the COVID year, and I think they were like 30th or 31st or something in yards and points. I mean, that wasn't a great look, and he's absolutely answered the bell this year. And I think that was what teams needed to see to make sure that he can take that next step. There's never going to be a doubt about his leadership ability, his gravitas. That guy's got a presence. I've known him, I don't know if you guys know this, I've known him since 2002, 2003, as he and I were with the Ravens together way back in the day. And so he is the same guy that he was then, maybe a little bit more mature, a little bit grayer around the temples, but like, you could always tell he had that presence. And he had to prove the X's and O's, and I think he's done that this year. He's going to get interviews, I think, for almost every opening that's out there.
It's going to be a pretty much different defense next year, though, right, Bees? Like, overall, I mean, we're talking about, aside from the coordinator, I'm saying player personnel.
Oh, yeah.
Like, I was asking Tobin, outside of Sealer, Chop, JP coming back, I don't know, Cater Kohu, like,
Ramsey will be back. Chubb will likely be back, and Jordan Brooks. But yeah, they have some big time holes. They need a stand up linebacker. They need 2 safeties. They need 2 corners. Like, there's a lot. Well, Kendall Fuller should be around too. I don't know the severity of his injury, but he'll be back next year. But they absolutely need huge help, all 3 levels of defense. And it'll be interesting to see if Weave walks, who that next man up will be. I mean, I think there's speculation that Robert Saleh might get some interest. I mean, that'd be a name you hear down here. I don't know how compatible the players are from one scheme to the next. we'll see. But yeah, the idea that there's a big changes coming to this organization in the next 4 months and maybe in the next 24 hours. We don't know. Like it would not at all surprise me if there's an announcement tomorrow saying that, Chris Greer is no longer the GM one way or the other. So I think they need to figure out the big stuff first. And then, come March, they'll start adding players.
He's Adam Beasley. Appreciate the time, man. Thanks so much. Hopefully we'll talk to you. Hopefully we'll talk to you next week.
Yeah. You call and I'll answer.
Yeah.
All right,
Bees,
there you go.
But Tobin, before Bees goes, Bees, you did announce that you're moving on to greener pastures. You're not covering the team daily anymore. Again, this might be our last Game Day Uncensored. I just felt like, one, thank you, but also you were excellent at your job for the myriad of years that you did it. Really, like you were the best. So good luck, obviously. But on this, reading your work and what I'm looking forward to, I know Tobin is as well, reading some of your unfiltered tweets about this team moving forward. That's what I'm looking forward to.
Well, I appreciate you guys saying that. You're making me blush, but I love this. I love you guys. I love this market. I'm still going to be here. I'm still living here, and I'll still be dropping some truth bombs from time to time. But
you'll see Bees at Amerant Bank Arena with a beer in his hand.
Yeah, I will be. Let's just say I'll be enjoying my nights and weekends a lot more. Okay.
Yes,
sir.
Take care, Bees.
Thanks, guys.
We'll be back with more after this.
Text WQAM on the Kendall Toyota text
AM Miami, WPOW HD2 Miami, WKIS HD2 Boca Raton, an Odyssey Sports Station.
Powered by Anajar and Levine Accident Attorneys.
Call 1-800-747-FREE.
That's 1-800-747-3733.
It's another Game Day Uncensored.
In week 1 of the Dolphins season, we all thought it was going to be a slam dunk for the Fins to make the playoffs. And in some corners, the phrase Super Bowl contenders got tossed around. Surely this was going to be the Dolphins' year. And then Tua got hurt. Yep, there were other key injuries too, and the season soon became a freight train going downhill fast. But here we are in week 18, and the Dolphins are still alive, with 2 caveats. They'll need to beat the Jets today, and the Broncos must lose to the Chiefs. Did you have that on your bingo card? Well, Mike McDaniel did.
Some of the best things in team sports occur when you have to galvanize together, and there's a lot of people telling you your season's over, or this, that, or the other.
Will the Dolphins be scoreboard watching? Well, they're going to try not to, says Alec Ingold.
We're going to let that Chiefs-Broncos game do what it does, but I'm sure there's going to be whispers and murmurs in the stadium. So the more awareness that we got, with all that will be good. But yeah, we'll stay locked in.
Time to look at the ins and the outs of this one. It's Game Day, Uncensored, the pregame show for real Miami football fans, with Tobin and Solana, Omar and Beasley, on AM 560 Sports, WQAM. FM 99.9 HD2, and always live on the free Odyssey app.
Brought to you by South Florida Lexus dealers and the Lexus RX, the luxury SUV for those who never want to lose their edge. Experience amazing at your Lexus dealer. Also sponsored by the free Odyssey app. Download it today to listen to us live or on demand. And by Edmore Sawgrass Buick GMC. No matter where you lease your vehicle, bring it to Edmore Sawgrass Buick GMC, your lease return headquarters. It's all a part of being backed by Morse. Click EdmoreSawgrassBuickGMC.com, a proud partner of the Miami Dolphins.
And welcome back, everybody. It is Game Day Uncensored here, 560 WQAM. Thanks again to Adam Beasley for stopping by the program. Miami Dolphins getting set for the New York Jets. Week 18 of the NFL season as the Miami Dolphins getting set for this, and hopefully can sneak their way into the playoffs. They're going to need some help. But in the meanwhile, they have a lot of rumors and rumblings surrounding. Now, Bees just told us, Solana, he's not going to be surprised if we find out tomorrow that Chris Grier is no longer the GM of the Miami Dolphins, that he's going to no longer run the show when it comes to player personnel. There were a number of reports. The first one that I saw this week, there were murmurs, which is the lowest rung of rumors, but it's right. Murmurs. Albert Breer, the MMQB, they still call it that, or SI, whatever the hell it is.
Yeah,
he's a longtime NFL reporter, but he had said there had been murmurs about the that there was going to be some change at Dolphin in the Dolphins front office. Jonathan Jones, who's CBS's insider, he said a strong rumor around the league during the fall is that Grier could retire and move to a senior advisor role, but many have questioned whether the 84-year-old Stephen Ross would want to conduct a search for a new GM, especially considering how well-liked Chris Grier is within the building. And then, of course, the great Barry Jackson adding to it that he said this week, Grier's future speculation around the league and executive from another team was conveyed this week. Albert Breer cited murmurs. We'll see. Nobody knows what Grier will decide until then. Or at least until Adam Schefter or Ian Rappaport report it. For whatever it's worth, not much. I got calls from around the league this week saying they're hearing Grier rumors and asking me. The fact that Grier was willing to trade Calais Campbell for a 4th rounder reflects on a man who would not be worried about job security. He always does a presser 2 or 3 days after the season. So it does feel like there's smoke here. It does not feel like there's nothing here as far as whether it's a firing, whether it's a retiring, whether it's a moving on, moving up. I don't know, but it does feel like change is coming to the Miami Dolphins front office one way or another.
Tobin, if the Dolphins don't make the playoffs again and they don't win a playoff game this year, you would be entering your quarter century mark of not winning a playoff game for a franchise who once competed for Super Bowls, went undefeated, the only team to do it. I don't have to tell you the accolades of this organization. Quarter century without a playoff win. If you are okay with the guy who, for the last 6 years, has been in charge of trying to change that and has failed at just winning a playoff game, I'm not talking about a Super Bowl, a playoff game, then you as an owner, Stephen Ross, do not care about winning football games. I think it's really as simple as that. He's had every opportunity. Doesn't make him a bad guy. He got full control of this rebuild. And as we sit here today on the outside looking in, it is a failure. It doesn't mean that it's the worst organization in terms of where they're headed. It doesn't mean that this roster is complete trash. I'm talking about simple standard expectation equals failure. How do you not move on from him, at the very least, calling the shots? I don't know. It would be, to me, a telltale sign of Stephen Ross does not care.
Yeah, well, we know that, like, and many people have pointed this out. Omar and Beasley have pointed this out. Plenty have pointed this out who cover the. He doesn't like firing people.
He does.
Like, he does hate the process. Omar's pointed out that he doesn't like losing a process, and so he doesn't want to get into also a bidding war, I think, for anybody and then lose out. Not that I think he would ever lose a bidding war, but I think
I hate grocery shopping.
I understand.
At a certain point, my fridge gets so empty that I have to go grocery shop. You know what I mean? I understand. I'm not downplaying that. I agree. He clearly doesn't like to get into a bidding war. He doesn't like firing. And clearly, Ross and Greer have a strong relationship, and Ross has built up enough good faith with Ross, or Greer has with Ross and Garfinkel and the entire Dolphins ownership group, that they think highly of him, you know? So that's fine. But at a certain point, I mean, you have to be crazy. You would be the laughing stock of the league to not say, hey, this has failed. We must move on. So I think it gets to a point where you kick the tires on something that is just so obvious to everybody else, and you put personal feelings aside, which is why I think we're hearing these rumors, and which is why I don't think Chris Greer gets thrown to the curb and left in New York today. Like, they do right by him. They know that he's tried and that they feel good about the person he is, and he wants best for the organization, but he failed at his job, and he can't continue doing that job.
You feel like he becomes president of F1?
Yeah, I mean, Garfinkel could use another person to talk about, you know, when they're deciding, you know, where the next pickleball courts are going to be laid out on the Hard Rock Stadium grounds. Like,
Chris Greer looks at the Carfax or something. He goes, "It's a classic. I see that it breaks down a lot, but it should be fine. You should be fine." Who's the versus Vasgersian? What the hell's the guy's name? Who's the most famous racer?
Max Vasgersian. You got it.
You should be all right with this car, Max. Don't worry about it, dude.
We're stopping, but you were close.
Whatever. I don't know, dude. I'm not gonna pretend like I know racing. I don't know racing. Who's the Lewis Hamilton, right? Like that's he's the one who wins all of them.
Well, he used to. Now it's Verstappen, but Lewis Hamilton is leaving Mercedes-Benz. He's going to another car. So we'll see. We'll see what happens this year.
Look at you. You're F1 boned up, dude. You got it all. You got it all figured out. Have you gone to that? Have you ever gone to the F1?
I did. I covered it. I covered it. Me and Dan Day went together.
Was it fun?
Oh, it was awesome. We were in the
It's hobnobbing, right? Dan, like, is it the hobnobbers are there? Like, it's a scene?
Bad Bunny, David Beckham. I mean, it was a who's who out there.
We saw Josh Allen. Spike Lee almost got beat up by Michael Strahan. Yeah.
What?
Yeah, I don't know what the beef was. Solano standing right next to me, and Strahan was serious about beating down Spike Lee.
Yeah, it was weird. It was
Ashton
weird.
Kutcher, Mila Kunis.
Mila Kunis. Nah, it was a who's who out there. It really
That's
was.
half of what it was, really, honestly, because a lot of people didn't even watch the race.
Do you think maybe it's finally time Dan Marino steps into the role that he was going to take years ago? Like he's always in those booths.
I don't think Dan wants any part of this. And listen,
come as he goes, come and goes as he pleases.
Let's just say if Dan Marino was calling the shots, not too certain Tua would have gotten that extension. All right,
perhaps, but maybe wouldn't people like that? Like if you're him,
yeah.
If he's because he isn't. I mean, he is around Stephen Ross. It's not like he's never he's there at those games. I mean, hell, like that's how Tannenbaum got the job. He was sitting here watching those games every week in the luxury box. Like you don't think that he just looks? He goes, Stephen Ross says, "Give it a whirl, Dan. What's the big deal?"
Yeah, well, here's the thing. Dan Marino likes his life. And to have a life, you can't be a general manager. It's why he literally left his job within 19 hours of taking it the first time. He's like, "You know what? I don't want to read a scouting report about a 21-year-old in Tuscaloosa. I'm good. I'm out. I'm okay." He's reading scouting reports about guys in Middle Tennessee, watching Middle Tennessee footage. Like that's what it takes to do this job well. Nonstop traveling from here to there, traveling to the worst parts of this country to watch college football games. Like he doesn't want to do that. Dan Marino wants to.
You have the what did Beasley refer to? You have the cronies do that stuff, and then he's just in for the heavy moves. Like, hey, do we extend Tua? And he's like, nah, can't stay healthy. Moving on. Thanks, thank you, Dan. Everybody's got to just keep calling him Uncle Dan. He just keeps making the moves.
Yeah, I don't think he wants any part of this Dolphins situation right now.
Almost a Parcells to his a Jeff Ireland to his Parcells.
Just give him a golf cart. Let him ride around.
Give him a golf cart. Give him his hat, and then just figure it out from there.
I mean, it's basically what he gets to do now, though. Get to travel with the team. He's at every game. He's around. He's a figurehead.
Yeah.
He gets to do appearances, which I'm sure he's handsomely paid for. Probably has a really nice salary, and he's just around.
Plus, everybody loves you too. Like nobody's ever, this is the only thing that could ruin your legacy is like, I tried to fix the Dolphins that are unfixable,
Yeah.
Then everybody's mad at you again.
Right. No, he doesn't want that. He doesn't want the responsibility. You know what, Tobin? I want somebody who's done it before. Like that's what I want. I want somebody who's done it before. And I what
about you saw the Jets interviewed Louis Riddick? You into that?
No.
Really?
No. I mean,
Deion Sanders gave him the vote of confidence. He's like, hey, that guy should do it.
You want a talking head?
Well, he's not just a talking head, though. I mean, he had his hand in the dirt. Well, he was a DB, but he didn't have his hand in the dirt. He was teammates with Leroy Horde, and I really do like him on television. He's a big Tua proponent.
He is. Just the fact that the Jets interviewed him, though. No, I wasn't trying to. I'm not trying to throw shade at him. I'm just asking you, like, the jump from television to the person you're entrusting to lead this organization when you haven't won a playoff game in 24 years, for me, is a tough one to kind of come around on. Like, when I'm thinking of my ideal candidate to take over this organization, it's somebody who's been doing it for a while. And Stephen Ross says, hey, I'll pay you double what they're paying you to do it because that's how badly I want you. Louis Riddick might be the best general manager ever in the history of sports. Like, I don't know. I'm not denying, what he's done and his credentials. I'm just, that's not the candidate I've built up in my head that I want the Dolphins to go out and get. Like, I want to feel like the person that's going to come over and take over this organization is literally going to have a culture shift here, change the way that this team is built from the inside up. And I don't know, like Louis Riddick doesn't.
But that's the thing
inspiration in me.
But that's the thing is, you are going to have somebody who believes in Mike McDaniel if you're not going to fire Mike McDaniel, And if Riddick is one of those guys who's been at least on television a fan of Mike McDaniel and a fan of Tua, that's kind of a step in that direction. You know what I mean? Like you're going to have somebody who believes in this or whatever they're going to do or pieces of this. And then fix the things that need to be fixed, mainly the trenches. But I don't know, man. I think the one thing with Key, if you're going to move on from Chris Greer, maybe they just give somebody a promotion in the building. I don't know, but it's I'm just telling you.
Haven't they tried that already? Chris Greer.
I mean, they did that with Chris Greer. Yeah, they did that with Chris. Is there new Chris Greer? Is it old the cap guy or whatever? Is like he's going to be the new guy who gets bumped up? I don't know, but they're going to have to they're going to have somebody who believes in Mike McDaniel and believes in the quarterback. I would think.
The only thing I'll say about Chris Greer that I will miss, by the way, happens to be a very nice guy. He really is. The one thing I am going to miss: the suit with the hat combo.
Oh yeah. Nobody else pulls that off.
Nobody else can pull that off. There's only 2 people that can pull that off ever. You wear a fresh suit and a nice ass hat.
What is that hat that he's wearing? It's not a Dolphins hat.
It's not. I don't know what brand it is. I don't know if it's like a Nike Tiger Woods hat. I don't know what it is. But the only people who can pull that combo off are Chris Greer, and I don't know if you ever watched Succession, Logan Roy. Brian Cox, the actor, he pulled that off every now and then as well in Succession. Like the only 2 people who can pull off a golf hat with just a nice, real nice, like Prada suit.
Man. All right, we'll take a break here on Game Day Uncensored. When we come back, we'll give you an update around the NFL. We do have an NFC South battle going on right now as we have a division title. We're jockeying for position. Panthers trying to play spoiler. Saints possibly playing spoiler here today. So we'll give you an update on that. And then what else is going on around the league. Plus, some Miami Dolphins feeling snubbed after the Pro Bowl was announced this week. Back after this.
WQAM broadcasting live from the
Odyssey app.
Brought to you by South Florida Lexus dealers and the Lexus RX, the luxury SUV for those who never want to lose their edge. Experience amazing at your Lexus dealer. Also sponsored by the free Odyssey app. Download it today to listen to us live or on demand. And by Edmore Sawgrass Buick GMC. No matter where you lease your vehicle, bring it to Edmore Sawgrass Buick GMC, your lease return headquarters. It's all a part of being backed by Morse. Click EdmoreSawgrassBuickGMC.com, a proud partner of the Miami Dolphins.
And welcome back, everybody. It's Game Day Uncensored here with you on 560 WQAM. We'll take you up until this kickoff, Week 18, Miami Dolphins taking on the New York Jets. One of the pieces of news this week, Solana, was that the Dolphins did not get a Pro Bowler this week. No Zach Sealer, no Jonnu Smith, no Jalen Ramsey, no Jordan Brooks. Also probably had a big game. No Jason Sanders, who hasn't missed a field goal in God knows how long. But were you surprised by that? Nobody making the Pro Bowl for the Miami Dolphins this week.
Yeah, it's BS. It's BS. The Dolphins aren't a bad team. They're on the precipice of a playoff berth. It's not likely to happen, but they're still on the precipice of a playoff berth, and they're in the hunt. And they've had, Tobin, 2 guys this year that deserve to be in the Pro Bowl. 2 guys. And I know when you kind of start looking at the position groups and you say, okay, well, who would they have replaced? That's where it gets dicey. Like, I realize that. But if Zach Sealer and Calais Campbell aren't Pro Bowlers, then I don't know. I think the whole game is stupid anyways, but it's a joke. It is. Like, those guys deserve to be Pro Bowlers this year. They do. I'm not going to go to bat for anybody else. Tyreek Hill, based off merit alone, probably should be in the Pro Bowl, but he hasn't had a good season. So you kind of say, okay, fine. Waddle, he's been hurt. Fine. It is what it is. Tua, he's missed 6 games. Fine. It is what it is. Jalen Ramsey hasn't had the big-time plays this season. I get it. You're telling me your boy, Zach Sealer, isn't a Pro Bowler this year? Are you kidding me? Dolphins have a top 3 defense statistically in the NFL, and Zach Sealer and Calais Campbell are probably the biggest reasons why. It's BS. I almost cursed. That they don't have a single Pro Bowler. You're telling me top 3 defense in the NFL statistically. Those are stats put out by the NFL, by the way. We're not nitpicking to make it sound good. Those are stats put out by the NFL. And a top 3 defense doesn't have one guy that can represent the league's best players. Get out of here with that nonsense. BS.
The Sealer one is infuriating to me. I mean, Jonnu Smith, I get him losing to a guy like Travis Kelce's probably this kind of thing, but Kelce's not going to go anyway. Let's be honest. Like they'll end up in the conference championship anyway, and so he'll be too busy. But Zach Sealer, like, this was crazy. I saw a breakdown of this. ML Football put this out. Mrs. Sealer put call 911 after this, which was hilarious. But Zach Sealer has 49 tackles, which is a lot more than Chris Jones. And Nnamdi Madubuike, who went there. Tackles for loss. He's got more tackles for loss than Jones. He's got more tackles for loss, 12 tackles for loss, 8.5 sacks, which is more than any of the Pro Bowl defensive linemen who went in there. It's a crime. I don't understand it. And mind you, he did this with getting his eye poked out by one of his guards in practice and had to miss 2 games. It's a travesty. It's a travesty that Zach Sealer, who was voted this week, at least the local media gave him some recognition, but Zach Sealer not being a Pro Bowler absolutely is a joke. And the only thing I can hope for is that he uses Aaron Rodgers like a chew toy today and gets some rage out. But Zach Sealer was bar none the best player on this Dolphins defense this year. Probably should have had more of these, forced fumbles because they protect the quarterback too much on that stupid tuck rule. Yeah. I mean, there were a couple where they called incomplete. Like, he mauled those quarterbacks. Should have been fumbles, turnovers for the Miami Dolphins. He was a game wrecker this year. And the fact that he is not a Pro Bowler, look, it's a dumb thing anyway. Nobody wants, you're basically going and playing a tug of war and flag football. And so what's he going to do there? I mean, he's going to basically be playing but the honor that he should have and the recognition he should have next to his name, it's a travesty that he didn't get this nomination. And Jordan Brooks too. Jordan Brooks has been an absolute demon for the Dolphins.
True.
He's been a demon for the Dolphins this year. What a great pickup. Like all the criticisms we can give to them, but they revamped their linebacker core, get this guy in from Seattle. Jordan Brooks has been an absolute ball. And I'll tell you one thing. The one thing I respect about Jordan Brooks on this team, he's the only one with the balls to go out there and say what it was in that Green Bay game, which is they played soft and the weather got to him. Nobody else in the locker room had the stones to tell the media exactly what happened. And what has he done ever since? He went out there, he's balled the rest of the season. He's been absolutely incredible. I like people who tell it like it is and don't pretend like it's not a thing.
And, you want to dig a little bit deeper into that, Tobin, with both those guys. Zach Sealer a year ago had a good year, breakout season, some might say. Who was he playing alongside of? A Pro Bowler. And what was the question with Zach Sealer? Is he actually that good? Or is the guy next to him making him look that good? And guess what? He looks like he might be, I don't want to go crazy, but he looks like he's on the same level of Christian Wilkins.
I don't think it's a crazy thing to say. I love Christian Wilkins as much as I said. They have two very different sets of skills as far as what makes them different. And one of the things that Christian Wilkins has that's different from Zach Sealer is that he has athleticism, that he can go and chase quarterbacks longer down the field. But if you're talking point of attack, game wrecking, I would say that they're very much on the same level. They're very much on the same level. And I think Zach Sealer has some things. I mean, he's bigger. He's probably got some things that he does better than Christian Wilkins. I don't think it's a crazy thing to say that they're on the same level. It's just he doesn't have the pedigree. Christian Wilkins was a first-round pick. He's had that leeway. This dude, it's and I'm not knocking Christian Wilkins. Christian Wilkins, I was a big fan of as well. But Zach Sealer got this thing from the mud, dude. He was basically cast off, practice squatted, living in a trailer. Went from a small town school. Christian Wilkins was on a national championship defense, is a first round pick, was great, was very, very talented. But you're never going to look at that guy and be like, oh, you'll never think that the guy who nobody looked at was thought to be better. I don't think it's a crazy thing to say Zach Sealer is as good, if not better, than Christian Wilkins.
Yep. All right. Then I'm glad I wasn't talking crazy. And when it comes to Jordan Brooks, man, he replaced Jerome Baker. And I know Jerome Baker wasn't, one of the best middle linebackers in the league. I know he was just solid, but he was a captain on this team for a long time. And to come in and take over those responsibilities and look as good as he has, and really outside of Sealer and Calais Campbell be the most consistent part of this defense. Like, I'm not as outraged about Jordan Brooks as I am as Zach Sealer, because again, like you look at the linebackers who are Pro Bowlers and you're kind of just like, all right, like I get it. But one player needed to be representing the Miami Dolphins, considering how good this defense has been this year on paper. And it's a shame that nobody is getting that recognition.
Jonnu Smith put it flatly this week. This was the Dolphins tight end who last week broke the Dolphins record for tight end touchdowns, and he described it appropriately.
Listen, I definitely felt, that was kind of a slap in the face. I felt a lot of guys, a few guys were deserving for sure. And, at the end of the day, we play this game to win championships. And, Pro Bowls, that comes with it. So at the end of the day, we'll laugh about it for a few minutes or so, but, we got work to do this weekend.
Man, I got distracted. Just a huge play by Michael Penix to put the Falcons within range to go up. I mean, they're going to go up by a field goal either way here, right before the half. But that was a hell of a throw to Ray McLeod.
Good, man.
He does look good. And Bryce Young is. This is a fun game, fun back and forth. And they're getting right now NFC South on the line. The Saints up 16-6 on the Buccaneers. How do you feel about this, Dan? I mean, you're going to maybe help the Falcons get into the playoffs. Is this you like playing spoiler, but this is your most hated team.
Yeah, it's bittersweet. You're going out there and you're whooping up on Tampa. You're going to play spoiler possibly, but you're helping out the team you hate more than anybody. It's like, we'll see what happens. Whatever happens in the second half happens in the second half. You also hurt your draft status, but whatever happens in the second half happens in the second half.
Yeah, right now the Saints are up 16-6 at halftime. The Falcons knocking on the door, 12 seconds left in the first half of their game. Here is Calais Campbell. This was Calais Campbell on the snubs this week around the Dolphins locker room.
There are definitely guys in this locker room that are worthy of the Pro Bowl. You know, I mean, Jonnu Smith had an incredible year. I mean, if that's not a Pro Bowl year, I don't know what is. You know, Zach Sealer, you know, another guy. I just feel like you can go down the list. I mean, there's a few guys that are very extremely worthy. You know, but it is what it is. You know, you can't do anything about it. It's, you know, the people voted. You know, you know, just motivation for next year for those guys that feel like they got holes there. So it is what it is.
Oh man! Listen. If Calais Campbell can't convince you, send him to beat somebody up over there at the Pro Bowl department.
The good news is, like, if we're just holding out for hope that there'll be one of these like subs for the Pro Bowl,
for sure. I gotta think that.
Like you're just looking at defensive end or interior linemen. Chris Jones, Cameron Hayward from Pittsburgh, and Matabuke from the Baltimore Ravens. Like one of those guys is going to be occupied come Pro Bowl week, right? At least one of those guys. So there's going to be an avenue for somebody from the Dolphins to get in. I think there's going to be an avenue.
Well, we'll be keeping an eye on that, and I imagine that Jonnu Smith will be one of our players to watch, which is brought to you by your Southern Lexus dealers. He's been awesome, and honestly, it's going to be an interesting one today because you have Tyreek Hill still within reach of 1,000 yards. You know he'd love to put the cherry on top there. I think he's about 70 yards shy, a little or maybe 60 yards shy of getting to the 1,000 yard mark. You know that the Cheetah would like to get that going today. Although it is going to be a nasty day in New York as far as the chill is concerned. So we'll keep an eye on it. We'll take a break here on Game Day Uncensored. And when we come back, we should have our actives and actives. Who is going to be good to go for this game for your Miami Dolphins? And could this be the last time we see Calais Campbell on a football field as well? Back after this.
Text WQAM on the Kendall Toyota text line.
Uncensored. On AM 560 Sports, WQAM. FM 99.9 HD2, and always live on the free Odyssey app.
Brought to you by South Florida Lexus dealers and the Lexus RX, the luxury SUV for those who never want to lose their edge. Experience amazing at your Lexus dealer. Also sponsored by the free Odyssey app. Download it today to listen to us live or on demand. And by Edmore Sawgrass Chevrolet. Edmore Sawgrass Chevrolet is your lease return headquarters. Click EdmoreSawgrassChevrolet.com and see how you're backed by Morse when it comes to returning your lease. Ed Morse is a proud partner of the Miami Dolphins.
And welcome back, everybody. It is Game Day Uncensored here on 560 WQAM. Miami Dolphins getting set for the New York Jets. The big thing we got to watch out for here, Solana, on the actives is definitely going to be the offensive line.
Right.
Teron Armstead, questionable. It's literally a roll of the dice with him. You never know. What's going to happen with him. And even if he is able to go, it has felt like a coin flip at best if he's going to be able to get through those games. If he's not, though, and then you got to put Patrick Paul on the left side, what are they going to do at right tackle? Because Kendall Lamb is done for the season. He had some spinal disc thing his body went numb. So we wish well for Kendall Lamb. That sucks. But yeah, this could be a Dolphins offensive line in disarray.
Well,
as it already has been. I understand. It's got issues.
A fitting end of the season, though, right, Tobin?
Of course.
From Chris Greer laughing about offensive line concerns to your starting right tackle out for the season, your backup right tackle having surgery before a must-win game, and your starting left tackle probably not being healthy enough to finish the season after already missing how many games this season. So, just a fitting end. If this is the end of the Chris Greer era, a fitting end to it. But almost part of me wants to see Patrick Paul go out there. I think these could be invaluable reps for him. And Tobin, Baker just got lit up. By the way, what the hell is Josh Allen doing on the field?
I just saw that. I saw that on the CBS halftime show. I don't know. I was going to ask you if you knew. Was he was that just to take a snap to say that he played every game?
Maybe.
He's got the longest streak going of 104 straight starts. He wants to keep the streak going.
I do remember Sean McDermott talking about that. Yeah, that's right. But he's playing. He didn't just take a snap and get out. He's playing. Maybe just the first half. But anyways, Tobin, the Dolphins shouldn't. They should not need. We can't at the end of the game be sitting here losing to the Jets in a must-win game saying, well, if Teron Armstead would have played, if you're a playoff team, you shouldn't lose to this New York Jets team for any reason. For any reason. That's how bad this team is. And I know that they had their best game of the season against Miami 3 weeks ago. I know Aaron Rodgers lit us up, but we all watched them last week against the Buffalo Bills. This team has quit on Aaron Rodgers. This team has no motivation to go out there and win a football game at home. It doesn't matter if it is Jackson Nissan Man. It doesn't matter if it is Liam Eichenberg or Isaiah Wynn playing today.
I don't know that it doesn't matter, though, dude. I get what you're saying.
It doesn't.
I don't know. This is, first of all, this is a Jets team that, played them pretty tough. And that's the thing with the Dolphins is, I understand that the Dolphins aren't the Jets, but I also don't know how much better they are than the Jets because I don't know how good the Dolphins are. Their entire MO this season, Solana, has been beat bad teams. Even mediocre teams have given them a handful this year. And, I agree that on paper with the Jets checked out and the Dolphins with everything to play for, of course, nature should say, the Dolphins should go out there and work. But I don't expect the Dolphins to go blow out the Jets today. I'm expecting them to go get a win. And because the Jets are a laughing stock. But, I tell you one thing, if Tua was starting today, I'd be worried for him because of what would be in front of him. And I don't know how well that speaks of his availability if they even did sneak into the playoffs, just because of having to do, you're taking guys off of practice squads, you're elevating guys off of practice squads, you're hoping this all works out. Maybe the Carmen fella, goes out there and gives it another. I mean, it is not an ideal place that they're at right now with this offensive line, which is why it was crazy that the GM said what he said at the during the offseason and saying that, like, you're just setting yourself up for failure when you say something like that about laughing about the concerns.
Yeah. By the way, Quinnen Williams is questionable for the game. That matters. I don't know if like Hassan Reddick is going to end up playing or not. My guess is he is. And Javal Kinlaw, Will McDonald, like we know how good those guys can be. But Tobin, I'm still not going to chalk this game up to is Jackson Ackerman going to be out there. Like I can't do that this game. I'm sorry. I just can't.
I don't understand why you can't though. We've seen this wreck the Dolphins before. Like, how many times can we look at just Joe Blow out there on the offensive line and it ruins everything that they tried to do? The only thing that gives you a little bit more hope is you actually have a quarterback who can run today.
Because Tobin, you're in week 18. You're in a must-win game. Don't talk to me about injuries. I'm sorry, man. Don't talk to me about injuries. You've had 18 weeks to prepare with this personnel available to you. Be ready for it. And look, I realize it's not the best situation to go into without Teron Armstead, without Kendall Lamb, without Austin Jackson. Tobin, you've had 18 weeks to get these guys ready, the guys you picked, to be ready to go out there and play. To me, it's not a fitting excuse. It's not like last year when you're in the playoffs where you're literally getting guys off the street to come play for you. Like, these are the guys that have been in the locker room. These are the guys that have been on the roster all season long. If they're not ready to play, then you just pick the wrong guys.
No, I get you, but like, how many tackles do you expect to go down in a season? Like, you probably should have already expected, hey, Teron Armstead's going to go down, and their contingency plan was let's draft somebody in the second round. But you have an Austin Jackson, you sign him, and then you think that Kendall Lamb is going to be our swing guy. He's going to be ready, and he also goes down by injury. Like, I get you. That is, but I'm not giving passes. It's just like, how many contingency plans can you have for this? And now you're at a point with like, okay, the guys who have been here is who? Meyer, who was undrafted. And so like, what do? You play him at one of the guard spots and kick Eichenberg out? Well, that's great. I mean, like, he's not good at any of the jobs you give him. So I don't know.
I get you. I'm probably like doing way too layman terms. I realize that, but
could they? Yeah, and could they still go out there, dude? Not to cut you off, I'm sorry, but like, could they still go out there and be like, dude, let's do some. Hey, come up with wizardry, get Snoop out on the move, make some things happen. Hey, in some ways, they may be better off having Snoop out there than having Tua because of his ability to do that with this offensive line in front of him. And then you have the defensive side of the football, which. Look, Aaron Rodgers sucks. And this team has sucked offensively this year. They still got, they got weapons, but they're ready to, they're 1-2-3 Cancun. This should be dialed up for an Anthony Weaver who's already seen them as well. So like, that's the other thing is like, you have the ability to know what you're getting into with this team.
Is Aaron Rodgers on ayahuasca today playing this football game?
Maybe. Can't rule it out. I can't rule it out.
The juice a little early.
We'll be getting actives and actives soon here, which is brought to you by JM Lexus. Score big at JM Lexus. We're bringing you more inventory and more savings with no dealer fee. Visit us today and drive home your dream car. Think Lexus, think JM Lexus. Man, that is the Armstead one's definitely the one I got to be the most worried about. We should know here in about 5 minutes.
Don't you feel, Tobin, just like gut feeling? And look, I could be wrong.
No, I don't think he's
feeling. This might be his last game, maybe of his career. Maybe he's just going to go out there and just give it everything he's got.
Yeah, I don't know what his. I think this was like the last year where like him walking away from money was too good, probably for him to walk away from. I gotta think he's exhausted. Like you just like. It's like you look at some players and you know what they've been through, and if you're Teron Armstead and you've literally just been like, and props to him. Like, this guy is banged up and he's playing with a knee that won't function. I gotta think that this is enough for him. I gotta think that this is possibly the last game for him, and I gotta think it's possibly the last game for Calais Campbell, who did give some voice to this week. You got Calais Campbell, Dan Day. This was him on if this could be the last game, and if it is, he wants to leave on a high note.
Quite a bit, quite a bit. I try not to, make decisions during season. I try to wait until the off season to kind of like really put myself in that. And I do feel like there's a chance I could play again. I know that, it's not 100%, or I'm definitely going to be done. But I have to treat this week like it could be my last game, that's a pretty strong emotional feeling there. As much as I love this game, as much as I've given this game, the fact that this could be the last one is kind of crazy. But, I'm go out there and play it with all my heart and try to finish with a bang.
Man, he's been unbelievable this season. What a story he's been.
Yeah.
To come in here, you come into the town where you played college football at the U, probably one of the last guys that the U has had that is an absolute elite NFL player from that last era. And he's just been a game wreck. He's been a game wrecker. He's been awesome. He's been a team leader. That video of him last week looking at Benito Jones, just like all, just psyching himself up. That was goosies galore for me, dude. I love watching Calais Campbell play football.
I've never been happier to admit that I was wrong about somebody. When the Dolphins signed Calais Campbell that day, Crowder was stoked about it. He's like, "Oh, that's great signing." And I laughed at Crowder. I said, "Dude, this guy's 37 years old. What the hell is he going to do out in the field? Maybe situational guy, third down guy." And I poo-pooed the entire signing. I mean, Tobin, I fought to the death about Calais Campbell just being like a whatever thing. He probably won't even make the roster. And man, did I look stupid. Man, did he make me look like a dummy. That guy was unbelievable all season long. He really was.
According to Omar Kelly, who we'll talk to here in just a few minutes, Jalen Waddle is warming up. Looks like he is going to be making his return to the Dolphins lineup. Omar tweets out. And according to Barry Jackson, Waddle said he intends to play. Tyreek is playing, according to ESPN. So looks like the Dolphins will have their allotment of skill guys out there. Will they have their full offensive line? We'll talk about all of that with Omar Kelly coming up here on Game Day Uncensored after this.
Text WQAM on the Kendall Toyota
Uncensored.
Week 18 of what's been a tumultuous, erratic up and down season for the Dolphins. And amazingly, in the last week of the regular season, if things go correctly, the Fins will be in the postseason. Quite an accomplishment if it happens. The Dolphins have to beat the Jets today, and the Broncos need to lose to the Chiefs. If those cookies don't crumble, hello playoffs. Here comes Miami. Dolphins linebacker Emmanuel Ogbah on what he saw from the Jets in Week 14.
Like I said, they're fighters. It's a division game, so, they're going to bring their A game. We got to bring our A game. You just can't take no team for granted. You just got to go out there and just play our brand of football. Don't do too much. Just focus on your responsibilities and just do your job. Don't try to do other people's job.
Mike McDaniel talks about keeping the momentum going following last week's win over the Browns.
I can tell that they feel that they have some more football to play, and they want to do everything that they can control to make sure that opportunity is taken advantage of if given.
Win with a little help, and the Fins are playing next weekend. Lose and no help, and we'll talk about what could have been. Time to break it all down on Game Day, Uncensored, the pregame show for real Miami football fans. Tobin and Solana, Omar and Beasley. On AM 560 Sports, WQAM, FM 99.9 HD2, and always live on the free Odyssey app.
Brought to you by South Florida Lexus Dealers and the Lexus RX, the luxury SUV for those who never want to lose their edge. Experience amazing at your Lexus dealer. Also sponsored by the free Odyssey app. Download it today to listen to us live or on demand. And by Edmore Sawgrass Buick GMC. No matter where you lease your vehicle, bring it to Edmore Sawgrass Buick GMC, your lease return headquarters. It's all a part of being backed by Morse. Click EdmoreSawgrassBuickGMC.com, a proud partner of the Miami Dolphins.
And welcome back, everybody. It's Game Day Uncensored here on 560 WQAM. Miami Dolphins getting set for the New York Jets from MetLife Stadium. It is that time of the show where we head on over to MetLife Stadium, and we'll talk to Miami Dolphins columnist from the Miami Herald, Omar Kelly, joining us here. Hello, Omar.
Hey, gentlemen. How you guys doing this morning? Today. It's not morning anymore.
Yeah, we're doing, I know it probably is hard to tell in the doom and gloom of New Jersey what it actually is over there. What looks worse, New Jersey or Cleveland?
Cleveland. Cleveland was rainy. It's not even, it's a good day. It's just cold here. It's a good day weather-wise. It's just cold.
So we just learned Tehran is going to give it a go. Does that mean Patrick Paul is going to be on the other side? What do you think they're going to do on the right side for this offensive line today?
We haven't seen the warm-up lineups yet, so that's coming. But I expect him to be starting at right tackle. It just makes too much sense. He's a young player who needs to get some legs under him, learn the NFL speed of the game. Even though that's not his natural spot, you got to put him out there, because if you throw snaps to another player, it's going to be meaningless next year.
By the way, the Chiefs released their inactives. Mahomes, Trent McDuffie, Jawan Taylor, Kelsey, Chris Jones, Pacheco, all inactive.
We know nobody was playing. Yeah.
So it's official now. Omar, what do you put the percentage chance that the Dolphins win today and that the Broncos lose today? Like, what would you give in terms of a percentage of that happening?
Probably about 5%. I just think, it's in Denver. Chiefs aren't playing anybody. Sean Payton's trying to get back to prominent status as one of the highest paid coaches in the league. These are all things that are significant. Now the question is it, the Saints are beating Tampa Bay right now. So you never know, Spencer Rattler's the starting quarterback for the Saints. And I love Darren Rizzi's team, but good God, that's luck and fortune right there. So you never know how the ball is going to bounce and who's going to have a ridiculous game. But, I think the Dolphins need to focus on beating the Jets, because I don't think that's going to be easy, especially when people are sitting here talking about this could be Aaron Rodgers' final game, which I don't think so. I think he's going to be headed to the Raiders next year, but, we'll see.
What'd you make of Snoop last week, Omar? You think that was, a case of being more comfortable? Was that a case of, hey, he was going up against the Browns? It's like you're going up against a boltless gun on the other side. Like, do you feel like he's found something, or he just was going up against somebody who sucks?
I think it was a little bit of both. I think he had a better understanding of the offense. I'm laughing because I'm thinking about Tyreek Hill's comments about him. I don't even know if we can even say the word, the offense, basically going, freestyling the offense. Let's put it that way. When he was starting for those 3 games, and everybody knew what the situation was. The guy didn't know the offense. He didn't know the motions. They had to dumb down a lot of the offense, and that simplified it for the defense, which made teams play them easier and better. They had to rely heavily on the run game just because they couldn't really do anything else. That's not an ideal situation, but that's where the Dolphins were when they lost Tua and then they lost Skyler. People forget about that. He had the broken ribs, and which is why Tyler Huntley became the starter. He understands the offense now. He knows the motions. He knows the communication. He knows the personnel. He's got better understanding of the timing of the routes. But I didn't even think he played that well last week. I know he had a ridiculous quarterback rating, but everything was really quick hitch, really check down. And then a lot of the times he was trying to run, he got sacked. I think if you had a better performance, you wouldn't have been sacked 4 times. So I think it's a matter of, and he was also playing Cleveland. And really, what does Cleveland have to play for anymore?
Nothing.
Absolutely nothing. Oh, Omar,
I'm dying to know if the Patriots are trying to win this. Are the Patriots trying to win and mess up their number 1 draft pick? Mess up their ability to trade Cam Ward for 3 first-round picks?
Well, are the Bills trying to blow the game on purpose because they don't want their division rival to get the first-round draft pick? That's the way I'm looking at it.
Well, it's a good way to look at it too.
Omar, but if Snoop Huntley last week, because a lot of the conversation was, maybe this can be the answer at backup quarterback. Snoop Huntley has to be approaching this game almost as a tryout for that role next season, right? Like, okay, you did it against Cleveland, but can you do it against a better defense in the New York Jets?
Yeah, no question about it. He's going to have an advantage over everybody else, but he could also be playing for the number 2. I look at Carson Wentz, who's out there as a backup quarterback for the Kansas City Chiefs. He's got $100,000 riding on producing a win for the Chiefs today. But if I'm Miami, I give the agent a call, and I'm like, you take care of business here today. We might have a nice little $5 million contract waiting for you here in South Florida. I mean, Carson Wentz wouldn't be a bad quarterback to back up to it. I think you're going to have your pick of the litter when it comes to backup quarterbacks, because everybody's going to be looking at this situation and saying, Tua's pretty fragile. If things shake out right, I might be able to get in there and show what I can do. And a backup quarterback in this league, I was just mentioning this to my peers. Like, I was looking at some of the prices that people pay for backup quarterbacks this season. I mean, the price has gone down for backup quarterbacks. I remember a day when Matt Moore was making $8 million a year. Now you're getting backup quarterbacks. Cooper Rush is making 2.5. Well, imagine if you could snag Cooper Rush from Dallas. Imagine if you Carson Wentz. Hey, I'm a big Teddy Bridgewater fan. I know, Dolphin fans feel some type of way, but Teddy's here. He's a similar quarterback to Tua. He knows the offense. It just makes a lot of sense to me. You could go Jimmy Garoppolo, even though I've heard Mike McDaniel isn't a Jimmy Garoppolo fan. There are going to be a lot of cheap backup quarterback options out there. So, I've heard Andy Dalton's name. So this is going to be a great opportunity for Snoop to show what he has, what he could do. And I think he might be able to lock it down if he can produce a win.
So what have you made of the whole Tua thing this week? He speaks and says, no ifs, ands, or buts. The reports are lots of buts, lots of ifs. Could be something. If they are able to sneak in, if they are able to have the chips fall where they may, it's not a sure thing that Tua could go, because this is actually a pretty painful injury that could get worse. So what do you make of everything that's gone on around is the news of his hip injury?
I think that he's been a very good soldier by not forcing the issue and not playing. And I think if it was another quarterback, I hate to say this, but if it was Josh Allen or if it was Patrick Mahomes and their team was in the playoffs, do you think that they would possibly allow the doctors to hold them out and prevent them from playing in the playoffs? Not the regular season, but in the playoffs, especially considering he's only played in one of two already playoff games. So do you think it's wise for him to miss his third playoff game? Which is why I think he was very emphatic, like, oh, I don't care, I'm playing. Like, if it's one game, I'm playing. And, you know, I guess we'll get to that bridge if we ever get an opportunity to cross it. But I kind of believe them. The one thing you could always expect from Tua is the truth. It's like every time he steps to the podium, and I'm talking to you guys about this, every time he steps to the podium or every time he has a microphone in front of his face, it's like he's drank just a vial of truth serum. So, you know, he basically acknowledged that, you know, what Mike McDaniel says, which is a muscle strain, isn't accurate. And, you know, said, oh, there's no chance that they're going to keep me out of playoff if we make it. And I believe him.
He's frustrated, right, Omar? Like we heard his comments. We heard his comments where he's, you know, he states clearly several times, I'm frustrated. But he's got to just be pissed off at this point of the season where he was held out for 4 games because of a concussion. And I think we're all on the same page. He probably feels like he shouldn't have been placed on IR, but it's the decision that the team made. And here we are, must-win games. He's trying to prove narratives wrong, that he's fragile, that he's soft, and he's being held out again over something he probably feels like he can play through.
I don't know if he can play through it, because you continue to hear people say it's impacting his ability to execute our offense, which means run. Like, I'm thinking it's impacting his throwing ability, because the hip, you throw from your hip, not your arm. And that I can't stop thinking about every time Mike McDaniel says it's impacting our ability to execute our offense. And it's putting him in harm's way, which means, okay, his scrambling ability. Because Tua's execution of the offense is Tua snaps the ball 3 millimeters every second, and the ball's out. It's gone. So, like, how could it impact their ability to throw unless it's impacting his velocity or impacting his ability to move around or do all the little quick operation things that he does? So I do believe that it is impacting his arm, but I don't know the true nature of what it is. They're saying it's not going to require surgery. Am I concerned? Absolutely. But but every Dolphin fan is, and it's just going to feed into the Tua's fragile narrative, which, you know, he absolutely hates, but he seemingly cannot avoid.
The other thing we can't avoid is there's been a lot of, I guess, rumors out there this week that this could be it for Chris Grier, as far as maybe not getting fired, but possibly moved somewhere in the organization. What have you made of all that noise that's come out? You buy any of it?
Nope. Not a single second of it. Not a drop. Not even a teeny tiny drop. There's no GM who's going to come into this organization with Chris Grier over him. Not a chance. And if they're going to do anything, they're going to fire him. They're not going to fire him. I just firmly believe that this owner is a firm believer in continuity. And even though I don't necessarily feel like it's the right situation to keep Chris Grier, I think that he will, and give him one more opportunity to fix the areas of this team that need to be fixed. And truthfully speaking, this is the mess that Chris Grier made. He should be given an opportunity to fix it. Now, should he be given an opportunity to select another quarterback? Absolutely not. Should he be given another opportunity to select another coach? Absolutely not. But he should be given an opportunity to fix this, especially when you consider they could have a winning record. They could they're in the hunt for the playoff spot and have a realistic shot in the final game of the season. Are you really going to fire a coach over that, especially when you've had so many issues, so many injuries? You don't even have a pass rusher on this team. Like, you don't have an offensive line. And these aren't excuses. Your run game is trash after having the second best, if not the first best run game in the NFL last year. whose fault is a lot of these things? I think it's Chris Greer, but I guess they're going to give him the opportunity to try to fix these issues, and I'm fine with that for one more season because we've come this far. I don't necessarily know if blowing it up and starting all over is the right thing to do right now. Now, would it be the bad thing to do? Probably get us a year ahead of wherever we want to be, but I can't forget how good they were last year going into that Baltimore game. Do you remember that? When people were talking about, the Dolphins could be the number one seed in the AFC. Oh man, Tua was it. I mean, literally, that was a Lamar versus Tua MVP conversation.
For sure.
Like, that's exactly where they were. And then they lost like 5 people in that game, and season was done. Okay, next year, they didn't build it back better. And for various reasons. The question is, okay, despite not being able to build it back better, did you learn from this season? Did you learn from the mistakes? And I wrote in the Herald that came in today's paper the 10 things you should have learned from the season. And let me sum it up for you. The trenches matter. Stop laughing it off. Stop. It's not a joke.
But if he lacks that awareness, Omar, do you feel like do you think he's going to learn anything? Because a guy who has that much like hubris in how I picked this offensive line that you guys are concerned about, can that guy learn? I mean, he's been here for a while already.
If you don't learn from this, you're the dumbest mother you-know-whatter in the NFL. You're just like, if you don't get the fact that you win football game in the trenches, and if this year didn't teach you that, you are trash running the ball. You can't stop the run. The only reason you can protect the quarterback is because you have the quarterback who's got the quickest trigger in the NFL. Like and like, how do you not get the fact that the trenches matter? How do you not fix that? Like, if you can't, or it's not a priority for you, maybe they should fire you before the season starts.
Yeah, Omar, I agree wholeheartedly with McDaniel. I think he's earned it because we were talking about it earlier. Right? I think there is something to be celebrated. And look, I'm not doing silver lining with the season. This year is a failure. Even if they win today, they make the playoff, like
even if they make the playoffs, it's a failure. Yeah,
right. It's a failure.
They go to Buffalo and gets smacked around.
Right, but there is something to be applauded for Mike McDaniel in being 2-6, all those things you just mentioned, lack of a pass rush, the amount of injuries, Tua going down, and him keeping this team on the straight and narrow. Like there truly is. But I just look at the teams that are in the playoffs right now, and I can start with the Houston Texans, rebuilt.
Yeah.
Now, quote unquote, perennial playoff team at least 2 straight years. The Chargers, 3 head coaches over the past couple of years, same draft class as Tua, getting their quarterback back in the playoffs. The Green Bay Packers lose a franchise Hall of Fame quarterback back in the playoffs. The Commanders took them 1 year back in the playoffs from the depths of hell. The Vikings lost their quarterback back in the playoffs. I mean, the Broncos, new regime, total culture shift back in the playoffs. The Buccaneers. I mean, look at all the teams I'm mentioning that it took them 2 years, 3 years, and we're on year 6 of this. And you've regressed. I don't like calling for somebody's job. I think Chris Greer is a good guy, but I just don't. None of it. Trying to rationalize it in my head makes sense where he deserves to be back next year calling the shots. It just does not make sense.
It does not make sense to me, but let me give it to you the way that Steve Ross probably looks at it. And I know this is hard for people to understand, but do you remember the last time he tried to hire a GM?
Oh, yeah, the old Dennis Hickey.
Yes, 4 guys turned him down. He ended up with Dennis Hickey. Dennis Hickey was kind of not ready or kind of incompetent, he learned, incapable, not prepared for the analytics part of the job, which was a little bit new age And then he ended up hiring Mike Tannenbaum as a consultant and realized, man, this guy's way more prepared and capable of running my franchise than the guy I just hired as GM, and then just leapfrogged him. Just, said, I know you hired him as a consultant, but I'm going to hire him as the vice president now to run the organization. And it was traumatic. The whole experience was traumatic for him. Like, imagine trying to hire somebody as your GM and 4 people turn you down. So, and then the next time he did it, he hired Gase, and then that went bad. And then he got rid of Gase and Tannenbaum at the same time and elevated Chris Greer, because Chris Greer was the good soldier to everybody. And Chris Greer, we had eras of dysfunction here, and Chris Greer knew how to play well with everybody. And Chris Greer was a guy who had minimal ego. Then he hires Brian Flores, and Chris Greer survives because you know what? Chris Greer is the good guy, and Brian Flores is the bad guy. Brian Flores was insubordinate. Brian Flores wouldn't do what he was told to do. Brian Flores, went out there and was trying to win games when we were supposed to be tanking. So it's been traumatic for him throughout all these hires and experiences. And the one thing that he's realized is, I can count on Chris Greer to be a good team player and to have minimal ego. And this team has been built relatively good. I think it's financially built irresponsibly. But hey, last year they were the hottest team in the NFL until they ran out of bodies. And, he thought he could double back, and it didn't work. And now the question is, what did you learn from that doubling back experience? And do I give you an opportunity to fix it? And I think he absolutely will, because we know that Mike's probably going to be back. You can't ignore the fact that a team that started 2-6 without their starting quarterback responded to with a 6-2 record. Like that can't be overlooked, or shouldn't be overlooked. And it's just a matter of, do you trust the guy that's building it, putting it all together? Hey, Joe. Do you trust the guy that's building it and putting it all together, and will he get it right? Now, I'm y'all know me. I have absolutely no confidence that this guy can do it. None.
Understandably why.
Yeah, but I think he's going to get a chance, and I think I'm fine with him getting that final chance.
What about you? What about doesn't Reddit?
Then I know. Then I know when you get that final chance, and if it doesn't get done right, like, let's just nuke it. Just drop a bomb right in the middle of it and go boof and start all over.
All right. Well, I hope you have a great time watching Dolphins Jets, Omar. Safe travels home. And, thanks for telling us no changes coming.
I mean, I thought there were no changes coming when Brian Flores, responded and won games at the end of the season, and then he got whacked. But that was a whacking for insubordinance.
Yeah,
that wasn't a whacking for performance. That was a whacking because he was basically a jerk to the owner and just wouldn't listen.
We know Chris Greer is not enough of a jerk to get fired.
Nope, Chris Greer is a total team player.
He's delightful.
And
he is, Omar. He's delightful.
Is he? Is Chris Greer delightful?
Yeah. No, like just pleasant guy.
Yeah, well, not to me anymore, but yeah.
Take care, Omar.
People say you should be fired. You don't become very popular to them.
Well, it's not your fault that he can't pick an offensive line.
Yeah, that is true. It is not my fault. All right.
Take care, Omar.
I guess.
All right, that's Omar Kelly. Go follow his work at the Miami Herald, and you guys can, of course, hear him throughout the week on QAM as well. We always appreciate him joining us. Hopefully it won't be the last time. Maybe the Dolphins will sneak in. By the way, I got to tell you, this Panthers-Falcons game is good. I mean, I can't believe it.
Bro,
this is a great game.
Bryce Young, the Bryce is right, baby. The Bryce is right. Tobin, he looks really good. And Michael Penix Jr. is throwing darts out here, man.
It's a fun game. And the last Bucks highlight I saw, Baker threw a bad pick, and the Saints got a field goal, so they're up 6 right now at the start of the fourth quarter. This is something, man. What a battle we have for that NFC South Division title going on right now. We will take a break here on Game Day Uncensored. A couple more segments to go, including our Porpoise props. We'll take a break. Back after this.
Text WQAM on the Kendall Toyota text line at 305-567-0560. Black Friday savings are on at Kendall Toyota. Huge year-end savings on Toyota cars and trucks with 0% financing for up to 5 years on Tundras. Skip the holiday rush with a 45-minute
Now, let's get back to Game Day Uncensored on AM 560 Sports, WQAM, FM 99.9 HD2, and always live on the free Odyssey app.
Brought to you by South Florida Lexus dealers and the Lexus RX, the luxury SUV for those who never want to lose their edge. Experience amazing at your Lexus dealer. Also sponsored by the free Odyssey app. Download it today to listen to us live or on demand. And by Edmore Sawgrass Cadillac. When it comes to returning your lease, Edmore's has your back. Edmore Sawgrass Cadillac is your lease return headquarters. Click EdmoreSawgrassCadillac.com. Edmore's is a proud partner of the Miami Dolphins.
And welcome back, everybody. It is Game Day Uncensored here, 560 WQAM. And Tobin and Solana here with you, getting you ready for Dolphins and Jets Week 18 as the Miami Dolphins try and squeak their way into the playoffs. They are 1.5-point underdogs. Started the week as the favorite. I think Vegas kind of knew that Tua wasn't going to play this week. Do you think that is Solana? Do you feel like that's mostly the lack of belief in Snoop?
No, I think this. Call me crazy, Tobin. This is the Aaron Rodgers effect.
Oh, just everybody thinks he's just overrated.
No. I'm surprised that the Dolphins are underdogs in this game. They opened as as favorites. They were 1-point favorites yesterday. Today, I mean, they're 1.5-point dogs. It's gone up. They were 1-point dogs like a couple hours ago when we started the show.
Yep.
The idea that, because I know B's kind of hinted at it, like, that's the Tua effect now that he's officially been ruled out. Tobin, I don't think, maybe fans were kind of holding out some hope. Vegas knew Tua wasn't going to play earlier this week. I think most people knew by last week when we found out what the issue actually was. He wasn't going to play. To me, this is people hammering the Jets because they're saying Aaron Rodgers, last game, wants to kind of go out on top so he can come away saying, well, I did my part. He wants to prove that he's still got some gas left in the tank.
Bit of an audition.
People are buying into that, is all I'm saying. I'm not saying it's going to happen. I don't think it's going to happen, but I think people are buying into that. Aaron Rodgers isn't going to go out sad the way it looked last week. He's going to go out with a bang to at least give himself flexibility in the offseason.
He is 100% going to end up on another team, and he's going to get another chance. There's no doubt. There's no doubt in my mind. There's too many. First of all, like B said, that this is a weak quarterback class. You're already starting to see the Shador Sanders truthers come out there and say he's not even worth that high a pick. So someone is going to end up giving Aaron Rodgers a shot. I don't know who, but there's not enough quarterbacks out there to just say, hey, you don't want to try and roll the dice on Aaron Rodgers and at least get some headlines around you. Definitely someone's going to do it. I don't know if it's the Raiders. I don't know who the hell it ends up being, but somebody will give Aaron Rodgers a shot again. And especially just thinking, we're not the Jets. We'll keep him, we're not the Jets, and try and go in that direction. Like the Saints, maybe the Saints with Derek Carr, are they going to go in that route again? Or are they both, go down to New Orleans together? I mean, like, someone is going to give him a shot, dude. I don't know.
Or it'll be one of those situations, Tobin, where he doesn't want to do training camp. He doesn't want to, maybe he won't start the season on a team, but week 3, week 4, I don't know. Josh Allen goes down or something like that, like a starter goes down and they say, all right, we'll go to Aaron Rodgers. Why not? Like he's going to play football next year, one way or the other.
This Game Day Uncensored brought to you in part by your South Florida Chevy dealers. You're looking for more power, capability, and technology with Chevy trucks. You're ready for anything. Together, let's drive. We'll take a break here on the show. When we come back, we'll do our porpoise props. We'll figure out and predict our game balls, and we'll hear a little bit on Anthony Weaver and what he has to say about his rookie pass rusher sensation, Chop Robinson, who has had – he could go out there and have a monster day and get the rookie record for himself. We'll see what happens. Certainly Aaron Rodgers is not the most fleet of foot, so we'll keep an eye on that as well. And get to our final thoughts on this potential last game of the Miami Dolphins season. Back with more on Game Day Uncensored after this.
Text WQAL
AM 560 Sports, WQAM, FM 99.9 HD2, and always live on the free Odyssey app.
Gameday Uncensored is sponsored by Southern Lexus Dealers. Find your summer getaway at the Lexus Golden Opportunity Sales Event. Get offers on select models through September 3rd. Also sponsored by the free Odyssey app. Download it today to listen to us live or on demand. And by Edmore Sawgrass Cadillac. When it comes to returning your lease, Ed Morse has your back. Ed Morse Sawgrass Cadillac is your lease return headquarters. Click edmoresawgrasscadillac.com. Ed Morse is a proud partner of the Miami Dolphins.
And welcome back, everybody. It is Game Day Uncensored, final segment here with you on the program. Ladies and gentlemen, let us get to a little segment we like to call Porpoise Props.
Oh.
It's time for
I don't know about you, but that looked like money.
Porpoise Props.
Hopefully you didn't jinx us.
All right, Solana. I feel pretty strong about this Porpoise Props bet that I have put together, all right?
Mm-hmm.
I have put a parlay together. I feel strong about it. I feel good about it. Here's what I'm rolling with, okay?
All right.
Because Porpoise Props are brought to us by Hard Rock Bet. Hard Rock, roll with us.
And you nailed it last week. You nailed it last week, or was it 2 weeks ago?
2 weeks ago.
Calais and Zach Sealer each over half a sack.
Yep. It was Chop Robinson and Zach Sealer, and it paid well. It paid like plus 800. It's gone down, and I tinkered with that a little bit, and you can get that at like 5-1 if you want to go with Chop and Zach Sealer, Zach Sealer has been a cash cow this year for me.
Yeah,
he's been a cash cow for me, and to no one's surprise, you bet your ass that he's in my Porpoise Props parlay. Okay, this is what I'm going with. This is what I'm going with. I am rolling with Zach Sealer over half a sack. Okay. Tyreek Hill's over under on catches is 4.5. I feel like that's a gimme.
Okay.
They're definitely going to try and get him 1,000 yards. You've already seen that Snoop Huntley loves going to Tyreek Hill early in drives. It basically goes to him every first play of every drive. I think Tyreek Hill 5 catches is a lock. Okay.
Okay.
Then I have Snoop Huntley anytime touchdown. Anytime touchdown. Put that into the mix. And then on top of that, because I don't think it's going to be an absolute high scoring day, but if you want to you get those three, it's like plus 1,400 if that's enough for you. But if you want to throw a little sweetener in there, on top of it, a man who has hit like 50 field goals in a row, Jason Sanders, over 1.5 field goals. These two teams, field goals will be kicked. Field goals will be kicked. Get you a plus 2,500 parlay.
Plus 2,500. I'll ride with you. Let's ride.
Plus 2,500. 1 Zach Sealer sack. 5 Tyreek Hill catches. A Tyler Huntley touchdown. And 2 Jason Sanders field goals.
Boom. I'm in.
That's what we got. That's what we're going with today for Porpoise Props. You got anything else that wet your whistle today?
Yeah. Let me make sure this goes through. Hold on a second. All right, we're in business, baby. Let's go, Tobin.
All right.
What I want to know is, are you going Julian Hill anytime touchdown? I'd like to solidify that. Week 18, it might be your last game day uncensored. You were not?
No. In fact, I mean, I haven't bet on him, to be honest with you guys. I haven't bet on Julian Hill in 3 weeks. I stopped.
Coward.
I stopped. No, I mean, like, come on, man. I just at one point I hit the bets where I was like, I can't even break even on the season. I can't. So at that point, when I couldn't break even anymore, and then there were some weird weeks, Solana. Like, you know, now is one of those weeks. By the way, this game between the Falcons and the Panthers is nuts. Falcons about to tie it up. Another touchdown to Drake London from Michael Penix. They're a point away from tying it at 31 apiece. Fun. Ooh. It got to a point with there was no handle on the Julian Hill market. So there'd be weeks where like he was plus 800 and plus 900, which was ridiculous. I'm not going to bet on him to get paid back $80. Like, that's not what I wanted. I wanted to bet on him and make my fat cash back.
Right.
And I wasn't able to do that. Now, this week he's plus 2,000. I suppose I could do it one more time just for kicks and giggles, but I got a feeling there's not going to be a lot of touchdowns here today. I got a feeling this is going to be a very low-scoring game between the Jets and the Dolphins.
Yeah. For good reason, by the way. So I'm with you. I'm happy for you. I mean, I think you're a coward, but I'm happy for you that you're making wise decisions here and not wasting your hard-earned money. Nobody works harder than Tobin. Your hard-earned money on Julian Hill, old Moose Hands, who failed you all season. Let's be honest. He had one opportunity. Was that in Seattle where he was had the ball inside the 5-yard line and fumbled? The Dolphins recovered it.
I think he did it there, and then he did it again against Arizona, I think it was. I want to say Arizona. He had a touchdown, and I was like, he's never going to get closer the rest of the season. That was it. That was my bet. Yeah. And that would have been I would have been so, because that was week, it was
10?
8, 10. I was like, I would have come out on top, would have been a profit. And
you would have looked like a genius, by the way. You had it. You had been calling it all year. You would have looked like a genius.
Yeah, I can't do it. I can't do it anymore. And even today, with it being at a fat number, he is what he is. He's Holdy McGee. I referred to him as next George Kittle over the summer. That was stupid. Hopefully George Kittle seemed to like the grass at Hard Rock enough that maybe he just comes here for a swan song year next year. Because that's going to be the next move. It's just we're getting all 49ers next year.
Yeah.
Everyone's good. Debo's coming down here. Everybody's going to join Mike McDaniel.
Speaking of guys that, we spent too much money on, Patriots and Bills fighting. They're duking it out. Patriots are up 20-16. Speaking of guys we spent too much money on, last year, that guy for me was River Craycraft. But there was some ROI with River Craycraft anytime touchdown the last couple of years. But I betted every single week that he was healthy last year. I saw a funny-ass tweet. I retweeted it yesterday. River Craycraft fan club. And he tweeted out, with 1,928 yards tomorrow, River Craycraft would break the record for most receiving yards in a season. Something to watch for. But it got me thinking, Tobin. Man, there was a lot of guys that we bought into this year. River Craycraft coming back. Not that he's going to be a Pro Bowler, but, just some continuity there, building on something. Odell Beckham Jr. Right? Like looking back this season, it's crazy. We're at week 18, but there's a lot of guys that we thought were going to be legitimate difference makers for the Dolphins. And they either A, didn't play the entire season, or B, just really sucked this year.
Yep. I would say, Julian Hill, I'm probably the most guilty of liking it, because I get Julian Hill, every time he messes up, people get mad at me on social media. So I'll wear it. I bought into the hype too much. I'm sorry. Once he said that he got the George Kittle playbook, I was like, oh, that's great. Except I didn't realize he was a rhinoceros in pads. So I had no shot there. I don't know. Dan, did you have anybody you bought into too much this year as a hype train for the Miami Dolphins?
You already know, man. Odell Beckham Jr., LSU, New Orleans. He's going to be a difference maker on this team.
Are you surprised nobody picked him up? I was surprised. I thought somebody would have kicked the tires on him.
They might still do that, though, right? For the playoffs. One of these playoff teams might just throw him a bone, bring him in, see what happens.
I don't know, man. He doesn't seem, I don't know. He's had a good career. What does he need it for anymore? He's already won his Super Bowl.
Not a Hall of Fame career, though. We did this a couple weeks ago. Because Crowder was dead set on him being a Hall of Famer. I'm like, I don't know, man. I think he had one really good catch and everybody really bought into him. He was good, but after the Giants, he was never great.
No. He wasn't. He wasn't great. He had a lot of turmoil with teams, specifically the Browns, and his dad beefing with Baker Mayfield on Twitter. I love his brother, by the way. I'm a big fan of Love Island USA. His brother won Love Island USA. Odell. I was so excited because it was before Odell played for the Dolphins. I was like, oh, Odell Beckham. They're mentioning the Dolphins on Love Island. Yeah, never worked out. Never really worked out.
It did not.
Ooh, all right, got another first down. The Panthers are marching down the field right now. And what is going on in this Saints game right now? What do we got?
Tampa Bay, they scored a pretty long touchdown, so it's 20-19. Tampa Bay's up by 1, but the Saints have the ball.
Saints have the ball. Bucks are in a winning in position. Falcons have the tiebreaker, but they need to be tied.
I kind of want the Bucks to win because look, like Michael Penix, cool story. The Falcons suck, man. They're not a good. They're not going to beat anybody in the playoffs. I don't think. If you get Buccaneers as the 4 seed, and they have to play the Vikings in the first round, Vikings on the road, that's, I don't know, like at least it's interesting. But I think the Vikings are maybe the best team in the NFC, even if they lose tomorrow or not. But at least it's interesting, right? Like if the Vikings have to go to Atlanta, they're gonna run through the Falcons, bro. Just run through them. The Bucks, there's some potential with the Buccaneers, like upsetting a couple teams. We saw last year with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers.
I'm very much looking forward to that game tonight because that's crazy. You either get the 1 seed or you're the 5 seed tonight in Sunday Night Football. That's good. That's going to be absolutely crazy. Like Brian Flores has the chance to lead a number 1 seed defense, and then there's all this. You know, it's kind of crazy. Did you see these reports this morning from Jay Glazer? Because I guess O'Connell doesn't have a contract after this year. He's a free agent. And so this could be agents, rattling the cage to get him, a bigger deal. But there's talks of like teams trying to trade for him and give him a contract. And you got to wonder if you're the Vikings, if that's the case. Like, could you imagine getting like 3 first-round picks for Kevin O'Connell or something crazy? Maybe just 1. Who cares? But let's just say you get a first-round pick for your coach and you just hire Brian Flores. You can find a whiz kid.
Damn. It's a good point because we had
you have a guy with head coaching experience in your building.
Right.
You can get draft capital. I imagine high draft capital for this guy. Whoever the hell let's say the Jets. The Jets are like, we need Kevin O'Connell to be our coach. No disrespect, dude. I mean, you've had a really good season and you turned around. I mean, because imagine you're the Jets and you see Sam Darnold do this, and Woody Johnson, who apparently has his teenage sons running the team, they're just like, Dad, let's go trade for a coach, bruh. And they go and give a first-round pick for Kevin O'Connell. And the Vikings are like, fine, we'll just make Brian Flores the head coach.
And isn't Darnold a free agent at the end of this year also?
He is. And they got J.J. McCarthy in the fold.
Yeah. Bring him over to New York. Package deal. Darnold and McConnell over to New York. Flo takes over. Because I saw people saying Brian Flores might get the offer for Chicago. And yep. I laugh at that. Like I marvel at that because, young quarterback who paints his nails. Let's go bring in Brian Flores, who tried to torture Tua for being too soft.
I can't see him and Caleb Williams vibing. I can't see that. Caleb Williams puts his cell phone in a clutch. I can't. I don't see that. I don't see that working out. But I mean, like, if I was in that situation, it's almost they're in that situation where they're like, all right, if you're the Vikings, do we really believe in this quarterback? And is this coach that good? Like, you're just like, what was really the star of the team this year? You're like, it's kind of the defense in Van Ginkel.
Yeah.
So why don't we just make them the head coach and we fleece somebody for a bunch of picks?
Yeah, but fast forward next year, you're 7-10. And people are going to crush you.
Probably.
Crush you.
Because it's also a really hard division that they're in right now. Like to win 14 games and you might be the 5. That is so criminal. Like I can't believe that.
I mean, potentially 15 games. Like that. The difference between being the 1 seed or the 5 seed is 14 or 15 wins. Like what?
Yeah, that's
and the third place team, by the way, has 11 wins. 11 wins, Tobin.
When's the last time the Dolphins won that many games?
11 wins?
No, I'm talking 12, 13. When's the last time they've won that? How long are we talking?
12?
1972.
1990.
1990?
I have it up right here. 1990, the Dolphins went 12-4. They lost in the divisional round of the playoffs. And before that, 1985, you lost in the conference championship game. You went 12-4. The year before that was the Super Bowl year that they lost. They went 14-2, 12 wins the year before that in 83. They lost in the divisional round.
Carolina just scored a touchdown.
Oh my God.
Bryce Young is balling, by the way.
You remember like there was talk about the Dolphins trading for him? They're like, we shouldn't even get Bryce Young. Value. This guy, I mean, he's cooked. I'm telling you, when the Dolphins played them, I was like, this kid looks good. I don't understand. Everybody, I know he's tiny, but this, he's in
I've
that
been riding the Bryce Young train for a while, Tobin. Like I've been going to war with Hawk and Crowder about Bryce Young, just saying like, hey man, you can't just kick the guy out of your organization when your team is a disaster. And
True.
I mean, they laughed at me, bro. They laughed at me this year.
You know what?
But here we are.
The crazy thing is, like, didn't Andy Dalton just get into like a fender bender, and that's why he got his opportunity again?
Literally, he
That's crazy.
He sprained his wrist in a car accident, and they had to throw Bryce Young back in, and he balled.
VLKV says that was depressing. No wonder 80s kids love the Dolphins. Yeah, like this is when we're talking about things like, oh, winning record, but yeah, they're all fake 9-8 seasons. Like I think I'm gonna make a rule now. I don't count 9-8 seasons unless you win a playoff game.
Right.
That's it.
Right.
He is balling. Look at him. I'm on a delay here on the Paramount app. I swear I'm not pirating. I don't have a new pirate site. Didn't they take down the pirate site?
Yeah, they took down what was it like?
No.
East Bay or whatever.
Yeah, no,
Bay.
Don't say it. Don't even say it.
East
Don't
Bay.
even say it. No,
Yeah,
it's not
gone.
East Bay. It's
Somebody
just
was already asking me. They're like, "Hey, do you have a new one?" I'm like, "I'm not telling you. You could be the feds."
You got to scour through Reddit, brother. You want to
Dude,
find
Listen,
one,
let me tell you
scour
something.
through
When you're a fight fan, I'm like Bane, dude. I was born in the pirate sites. This is not like this whole thing of streaming NFL games. That's a new thing when you had to start paying for everything, dude. Fight fans, we've been pirating things like crazy. That's nothing new. I got things that are like from Argentina you've never heard of.
Did you grow up in like the LimeWire era, Tobin? Were you
Little
ripping
bit.
stuff from LimeWire?
Yeah, but it was too. I've done some LimeWire, but it messes your computer up too much. So you couldn't
for sure.
you couldn't risk it. You maybe get a good album every now and then, but I didn't feel like I never did it with movies. I just didn't feel like the juice was worth the squeeze for me.
Let's say I young Solana in middle school tried to do it for a movie starring Kim Kardashian, and let's just say I needed a new computer after that.
Oh man, listen, what can you do? Predict the game ball real quick, Solana. If the Dolphins win today, who's taking it?
Let's go defense. I'm gonna steal yours, Zach Sealer. I'm gonna steal yours for Week 18, Zach Sealer. Why not? Pissed off he didn't make the Pro Bowl. Let's go Sealer.
Dan Day, who do you think takes the game ball today?
Snoop-a-loop, man. Snoop Huntley has another big game, another big win for the Miami Dolphins.
I think I'm going to go with Jason Sanders. Game winner to send the Dolphins to the playoffs.
Wow.
Somehow, some way, the Broncos will blow this.
Carson Wentz, game ball. Carson Wentz.
Oh, Mike McDaniel would. If Mike McDaniel could ever, if anybody would want to give game balls to other players from other teams, it's Mike McDaniel.
If Omar was saying, maybe bring Carson Wentz in next year. If he wins this game, Dolphins make the playoffs, they beat Buffalo, they're going to give Wentz whatever the hell he wants. Statue next to Marino. You name it.
All right, everybody, that is our show. Enjoy the football. Go Dolphins. We'll see if they can pull this off. And hopefully we'll talk to you guys next week. If not, it's been another fun season with you guys here on Game Day Uncensored. Enjoy the football. Talk to you guys next time.
Well, folks, this has been the final regular season Game Day Uncensored. Let's hope we